Anyone in our line of work knows. There are many taboos on the night of the Ghost Festival. For example, you can't look back, you can't pick up money from the ground, and you definitely shouldn't take jobs burning paper offerings at graves at night just for money. But for $1,000, not only did I take the job, I also burned them at the wrong fucking grave. As a result, the beautiful woman on the tombstone came knocking on my door that very night. She said she really liked the paper money I burned, so she decided to take me as a return gift. During the Ghost Festival in Yanbei, the old alleys are as cold as an ice cellar. The wind is full of the smell of burning paper. I was sitting on the threshold of my own paper craft shop, seething with anger. I'm a fucking support. You need to follow up. My score is already 0-8, and you stupid jungler stole my red buff, didn't you? I slammed my phone shut, cursing repeatedly. A bunch of pig teammates. You don't deserve to win. As for crossing over, it's been a year since I came to this world. I feel like I'm a time traveler. Disgrace. It's bad enough not having a cheat code, but I'm also dead broke. A year ago, before my grandfather died, he left me this shop. He said, Xiaomo, our family business cannot be broken. Breaking it will bring trouble. For the first year you only do daytime business. If there are customers at night, don't open the door. I was totally confused at the time. A shop that sells things for the dead has quite a lot of rules. But out of a final sense of awe for the unknown, I obediently followed the rules for a year. I closed the shop exactly at 6 p.m. every day. And the result? I haven't made a single sale in over half a year. I'm so poor I'm about to eat dirt. I glanced at my phone. 3 minutes to 6, almost time to close up. I got up and grabbed a box. Incense, candles, and paper money, plus a bag of large gold ingots. That's right, I took an on-demand proxy paper burning order. Damn it, if you have this kind of intention, why don't you come and burn them yourself? I muttered to myself while checking the information. Shangyuan Cemetery Grave a 107 He Shengxiong. Just as I was about to go out, a gust of gloomy wind blew past, making me shiver from the cold. I suddenly remembered another one of my grandfather's taboos. For the first year in the business, do not take any business on the night of the Ghost Festival. Old man, it's not that I'm disobedient. It's mainly because he added extra money. A 1,000 yuan tip is enough for me to live on for half a month. Poverty is my only motivation. Before leaving, I subconsciously glanced at the Taoist robe hanging in the main hall. Grandpa said it could save my life in a critical moment. I even thought at the time, this old man was afraid I wouldn't be able to make a living, so he wanted me to be a Taoist priest, to scam people. Closing the door, I directly hailed a cab to the suburbs. However, I didn't know that this decision would almost cost me my life. Shangyuan Cemetery. The hills and plains were covered with tombstones. I climbed up the stone steps, still muttering that the gates of hell open on the Ghost Festival. If I wasn't so poor, I absolutely wouldn't have gone out today. Soon I found Tombstone No. 11,006, but next to it was just a weed-covered dirt slope, where was 107. With sharp eyes I spotted an old stone tablet in the weeds. It looked older than the rest. Hey, you have money to buy a cemetery plot, but no money to pick a good spot, I complained. Arranged the incense and paper money, and shouted at the top of my lungs, He Shengxiong, it's the festival, come get your money. He Shengxiong, collect your money. After shouting He Shengxiong 3 times, the paper money was almost burned out. I recorded a video and sent it to the employer, and turned around wanting to leave. But right at this moment, my phone rang sharply. It was the employer. I smiled and answered, Are you satisfied, boss? Who did you burn it for? That's not my grandfather's grave. That's not my grandfather's grave. On the other end of the phone, a girl's voice sounded like it was about to explode with anger. I froze for a second, then turned and ran back, brushing aside the weeds. I saw a tattered black and white photo on the tombstone. It was a young woman. You call yourself a century-old shop, and you still burn offerings at the wrong grave. I just hung up the phone. Damn, I burned them at the wrong grave. I looked at the 18 or 19-year-old girl in the photo. She had delicate features, a real beauty. What a shame dying so young, I sighed. Just consider it a small token from a passerby. It was getting late, so I prepared to slip away. I'll come back tomorrow to make it up to that old man. However, just as I got up, a voice rang in my ear. Thank you, young man. The voice was soft and gentle, but it made my scalp tingle instantly. Who is it? I snapped my head back. Other than the tombstones around me, there wasn't a single ghost in sight. I must be hearing things. Panting heavily, my back was completely drenched in cold sweat. I steadied my nerves, and instinctively took another look at that tombstone. One look and I froze on the spot. The originally expressionless girl in the photo actually had a weird smile on her lips. Fuck, it scared the soul out of me. I scrambled and ran wildly down the mountain. She smiled. I definitely didn't see it wrong. I dashed all the way to the cemetery gates, my heart beating so fast it felt like it would pop out of my throat. It was completely dark, and I couldn't get a cab. I had no choice but to wait for the last bus. Damn, there really are ghosts in this world, I muttered to myself to boost my courage. While feeling my body growing heavier and heavier, it felt like I was carrying a boulder. Before long the bus arrived. I staggered onto the bus, and casually dropped some cash in the fare box. Driver, call me when we get to Guhua Street. The driver was originally slouching, but the moment he caught a glimpse of me, he reacted as if he were electrocuted. He sat bolt upright in a flash, shut his eyes tight, and never looked at me again. Baffling, I muttered, finding a window seat and falling asleep. It was the piercing sound of brakes that jolted me awake. At my stop I dragged my heavy body off the bus. Passing by the driver, I noticed he was using an extremely awkward posture to avoid my gaze. After I walked far away, the driver suddenly turned around, his face covered in cold sweat, and started bowing wildly to the empty air. What the hell is that kid carrying on his back? Of course I couldn't hear him. I only felt like I was walking through mud, every step feeling incredibly heavy. I couldn't hold on as soon as I entered the alley. I leaned against the wall panting heavily. Damn, why is it so heavy? The moonlight overhead reflected in a small puddle on the ground. I accidentally caught a glimpse of my face reflecting in the puddle, and on my shoulder, there rested a pale slender hand. Son of a bitch. My head buzzed, and I spun around throwing whatever it was off me. A slender figure was thrown in front of me, but those hands clung tightly to my neck. Young man, you really don't know how to treat a lady gently. A coquettish voice sounded right next to my ear. I looked up in terror, and our eyes met. It was a breathtakingly beautiful face. She was dressed in a red dress, unbelievably gorgeous, and unbelievably cold. There was no trace of color in her skin. It was exactly the woman from the tombstone. Young man, am I pretty? She flashed me a charming smile, and a hint of shyness even flashed across her face. P pretty. My mind went completely blank. I nodded uncontrollably. So you actually think I'm pretty? Then come with me, all right. She grabbed my collar and leaned in with a seductive gaze. Just as I was about to speak, a cold soft touch sealed my lips. Soft, moist, and sweet, my Adam's apple bobbed hard, just as my consciousness was blurring, and I felt my body wrapped in an eerie red light. A muffled thud came from deep within the east alley. The red-clothed female ghost in my arms jerked her head up, her eyes sweeping the darkness like cold blades. A shudder ran through my entire body, and I snapped awake instantly. There was no beauty in front of me, only a terrifyingly pale face. Fuck, I can't do this anymore. I didn't know where the strength came from, but I shoved her away and scrambled frantically toward my paper craft shop. It can save your life in a crisis. Grandpa's words exploded in my mind. I dashed into the house, ripped the Taoist robe off the wall, and threw it on without a second thought. Grandpa, your good grandson. Whether I survive depends entirely on you. As I frantically tied the collar, I suddenly felt something in the lining, a letter and a jade pendant. The moment I grasped the jade pendant, a warm current flowed into me, and my racing heart actually calmed down a bit. I couldn't wait to tear open the letter. My good grandson Lin Mo seeing this letter is like seeing me in person. The letter was long, but I only understood a few things. 1. Grandpa was a badass Taoist. This shop entertains ghosts at night. 2. This jade pendant can absorb ghost energy for cultivation. 3. Grandpa invited immortals. Follow this courtyard for me to practice for a year. To buy me some time. Seeing this, my whole body was trembling. So ghosts really do exist. But immediately after, a line of small text at the end of the letter almost made me spit out blood. My good grandson, knowing your personality, you'll definitely find this letter right away. Surprised. Unexpected. Unexpected. If you the Terranaution was doubted, and you so my the Trekgabar Kalad ver the war. If you had a backup plan, why didn't you say so earlier? Why must you play puzzle games? I was so angry I wanted to tear the letter up, but when I flipped it over I found words on the back. My good grandson, remember this. After next year's ghost festival a red calamity will come. If it arrives before frost descent, you'll be fine. If frost descent passes, and it still hasn't arrived, flee immediately. If you're even a step too late, you will undoubtedly die. My head was buzzing. What the hell is a red calamity? Most importantly, I'm only reading this fucking letter now. That so-called 1-year protection period has long fucking passed. Fuck. I held my head and howled in agony. But right at that moment, that seductive voice came from outside the door. Are you feeling frustrated, little brother? Come out and let me keep you company. Hearing this voice, all my fear instantly turned into rage. I'm dead either way. Keep shouting all you want, it's just death, right? At worst, it'll just transmigrate again. Wearing the Taoist robe, I kicked the door open, pointed at the red-clothed female ghost floating in the yard and swore at her, but my momentum instantly weakened. Come here then. The red-clothed female ghost gave a seductive smile and floated straight toward me. Seeing that face was about to press against mine. Boom. The Taoist robe on me suddenly erupted with a golden light. The red-clothed female ghost let out a wretched scream. She was blasted back several meters, and black veins surfaced on her face. I was stunned. Looking down, golden light was flowing across the Taoist robe. It actually works, fuck. My courage instantly swelled. I took a step up the stairs and whipped the Taoist robe around, hooking my finger at her. I thought you'd be a lot scarier. Come on, try and touch me. However, my coolness didn't even last 3 seconds. Before I even finished speaking, a piercing cold shot up from my knees that weren't covered by the Taoist robe. I dropped to my knees with a thud. My knees were instantly frozen stiff. Little brother, the Celestial Master's robe might protect you for a moment, but it can't protect you forever. The red-clothed female ghost's voice echoed in my ear, laced with a hint of mockery. Well, just take our time. Once its power runs out, all your young essence will belong to me. Despair washed over me, leaving my heart ice cold. Right then, a thought suddenly crossed my mind. Wait, you just want my essence, right? You're willing to give it. Her figure paused, leaning her face in so close it almost touched mine. As she asked with great interest, my mouth twitched. Giving it means death. Not giving it and dragging this out also means death. But right now what I need most is time. Time to cultivate. A real man knows when to yield. I can give it, I said through gritted teeth, but I have one condition. My essence is limited. You can't suck it all out at once, every day. You can only take 1% every 100 days. After 100 days, my life is yours. My heart leaped into my throat as I finished speaking. To my surprise, she stared at me and smiled almost without hesitation. Sure, no problem. I was stunned. Did I offer too much? She agreed so readily that it gave me the creeps. Then, how do I asked, biting the bullet. She didn't answer. Instead, she stood on her tiptoes, her eyes filled with charm, and slowly leaned in toward me, parting her alluring red lips. My Adam's apple bobbed instinctively. In that moment, I suddenly understood. She wasn't afraid of me stalling for time at all, with her soul-stealing charm. Let alone 100 days. I was afraid I wouldn't even last a single day. Damn it. I wrapped my Taoist robe around and scrambled back into the house, slamming the door shut with a bang. From the yard came her teasing, delicate laughter. Little brother, don't be afraid. Some tastes, once you try them, you can never quit. Not giving it and dragging this out also means death. But right now what I need most is time. Time to cultivate. A real man knows when to yield. I can give it, I said through gritted teeth, but I have one condition. My essence is limited. You can't suck it all out at once. Every day. You can only take 1% every day in 100 days. After 100 days, my life is yours. My heart leaped into my throat as I finished speaking. To my surprise, she stared at me and smiled almost without hesitation. Sure, no problem. I was stunned. Did I offer too much? She agreed so readily that it gave me the creeps. Then, how do I ask, biting the bullet? She didn't answer. Instead, she stood on her tiptoes, her eyes filled with charm, and slowly leaned in toward me, parting her alluring red lips. My Adam's apple bobbed instinctively. In that moment, I suddenly understood. She wasn't afraid of me stalling for time at all, with her soul-stealing charm. Let alone 100 days. I was afraid I wouldn't even last a single day. I wrapped my Taoist robe around me and scrambled back into the house, slamming the door shut with a bang. From the yard came her teasing, delicate laughter. Don't be afraid. Some tastes, once you've had a bite, you can never quit. I lay in bed, rubbing my freezing purplish hands and feet, my mind a complete mess. Ghosts actually fucking exist in this world. Right outside the door floats a female ghost who wants to suck my life essence, and I foolishly agreed to pay her in installments. The moment I thought of the word suck, my kidneys would ache faintly. What's even more fatal is, the divine protection my grandfather requested for me expired exactly today after a year. In other words, starting from 12 a.m. tonight, this shop of mine will officially open for business to ghosts. Flee, I must flee. The moment this thought popped up, it grew wildly. I'll buy a ticket and leave as soon as the sun rises. Wait, go abroad. But where's the money? I suddenly remembered seeing in a group chat a few days ago about high-paying actor recruitment abroad. Before transmigrating, I also played extra roles. Isn't that a perfect match for my skills? Since I've already transmigrated, they probably wouldn't harvest my kidneys abroad, right? I muttered to myself, and unknowingly fell asleep. However, reality struck faster than any nightmare. Hiss! A sharp pain in my leg jolted me awake. The purple skin reminded me that everything last night was not a dream. Fuck, I felt so wronged I wanted to cry. Others transmigrate and their cheat systems chime constantly. I transmigrate and get tormented by a ghost. I fished out my phone and took a look. 6 Pakmuk 01. I wanted to throw my phone. But right at this moment, a knock came at the door. One knock after another. No more, no less. Exactly 4 knocks. The ghost knock. What does this female ghost want now? My first thought was her endless knocking was like a death warrant. Fuck, I really couldn't take it anymore. I wrapped my Taoist robe tight and yanked the door open. Outside stood a burly man built like an iron tower, his face covered in fierce fat. The moment he opened his mouth, his voice boomed like thunder. Are you doing business or not? My ears were ringing from the sheer volume. Just as I was about to curse him out, I suddenly realized, it's a new day now. I have to open for business. Looking down, the Taoist robe was indeed glowing with a golden light. You're a fucking ghost. I asked, my eyes wide. Nonsense, if I wasn't a ghost, why would I come to your Zhaiyuan shop? Fetch me. My brain short-circuited, and I slammed the door shut with a bang. Hey! The burly man cursed in fury outside, kicking the threshold over and over. I squatted on the ground holding my head. I didn't expect a customer to come so quickly. Little brother, the red-clothed female ghost's voice drifted in. You can't refuse customers when doing business on the yin path. I don't fucking want to. I roared in frustration. Once you start, there's no room for you to back out. Her words were like a basin of cold water, drenching me to the bone. The kicking and cursing outside grew louder and louder. I felt my own temper rush straight to my head as well. Fear is fear, but even a cornered rabbit will bite. Motherfucker, what are you knocking for? I pulled the door open again and cursed right at his nose. You son of a bitch. Is Zhaiyuan's shop acting high and mighty? The burly man also pointed at me. Believe it or not, I'll call the ghosts around here to rip off your skull. My heart skipped a beat, catching a few keywords. Zhaiyuan shop, ghost festival, yin path rules. I took a deep breath and imitated the tone in my grandfather's letter, feigning experience as I asked, what do you want? 3 eternal lamps, 5 guiding incenses, and 800 taels of gold full weight. He immediately fired off a list of items. I instinctively looked toward the backyard. The paper craft items seemed to actually match up. Alright, come in. I nodded and stopped kicking my damn broken threshold. The giant scoffed and stepped inside, but just as he neared the door, he gave me a sidelong glance. and intentionally kicked the threshold a few times with a loud bang. I'll kick it if I want to. What are you gonna do about it? He walked right up to me, and only then did I get a clear look at his face. It was completely swollen and bloated like a giant corpse. It was so disgusting it made me want to throw up. Suppressing my nausea, I turned around to fetch the items, but right at that moment, he suddenly spoke. Wait. The giant stared fixedly at me, his tone becoming eerily mocking. Do you not have any cultivation base? My heart skipped a beat, but I stayed quiet, only instinctively tightening my Taoist robe. Seeing my reaction, he suddenly grinned, as gross pus rolled down from the corners of his mouth. By my ass. He revealed his true ghostly form, and laughed maliciously. You dare walk the yin path with no cultivation? Isn't it faster to just rob you? Before his voice even faded, a mountain of flesh crashed towards me. Fuck. Terrified, I turned to run, but I was still hit head on. Arg, damn it, what the hell are you wearing? The giant let out a miserable shriek. My Taoist robe burned him so badly he started smoking all over. I was knocked back several steps but didn't dare to stop, and immediately booked it toward the backyard. Stop right there. The giant recklessly charged at me again, moving as fast as lightning, and sent me flying 3 meters away. I sprawled on the ground, feeling like my internal organs had all shifted. While the giant rubbed his burned body, he glared at me fixedly with those dark green eyes. He was clearly plotting how to strip off my Taoist robe. Just as I was sinking into despair, a voice rang out. Little brother. I looked up and saw the red-clothed female ghost standing on the wall, smiling at me while holding up 5 fingers. What did that mean? Before I could figure it out, the giant rammed into me yet again. Bang. I was knocked flying right into the middle of the yard. Looking back at the wall, the female ghost wiggled those 5 fingers, her eyes full of gloating calculation. I instantly understood. 5 installments. 5 installments. I screamed at the top of my lungs, help. The red-clothed female ghost smiled triumphantly. In a flash, she floated directly in front of me. The giant was stunned. Before he could react, a cold light flashed in the ghost's eyes, followed by a shrill scream. The giant was blown into pieces of flesh that scattered across the sky. Bizarrely, those chunks of flesh quickly began to reassemble, though his figure was now much more translucent. Little brother, can I eat him? The female ghost turned her head, and asked me with an innocent face. I was so terrified I kept backing away. What kind of ghost are you? The reformed giant screamed in terror. How can there be such a powerful entity in Jiayuan building? Isn't old Taoist Lin dead? The female ghost merely gave him a cold sidelong glance, and the giant was so terrified he dissipated again, unable to reform for a long time. Little brother, add another 5 installments, and I'll help you completely devour him. She licked her lips, her eyes filled with longing. Before I could speak, the newly reformed giant suddenly let out a ripping sound, tearing off one of his own arms and throwing it in front of me. Little boss, I don't want the items anymore. This is the deposit. Please let me go. As he spoke, he screamed shrilly toward the outside of the door. No fighting inside Jiayuan building. This is the rule of the yin path. Where are the night roaming gods? Hearing the night roaming gods mentioned, the red-clothed female ghost raised an eyebrow, but her face showed disdain. I immediately understood. Whatever was outside could save the burly man's life, but the red-clothed female ghost didn't seem afraid. I made a prompt decision and ran to the backyard. I packed what the burly man wanted and threw it over. It grabbed the items and ran without looking back, its figure much smaller than when it arrived. At that moment, the jade pendant in my pocket suddenly heated up. I walked over to the severed arm and took out the jade pendant. Instantly, the severed arm turned into a black line and was absorbed into it, so it was yin energy. So that's how it works. I was shocked. Little brother, the red-clothed female ghost's voice came. I turned around and saw her blinking, pouting her red lips. I'm here to collect the debt. I gritted my teeth, took off half of my Taoist robe, and walked over with my chest puffed out. After 5 kisses, I felt my legs go weak. My vision kept going dark. Alright, I staggered back into the house, feeling like my body was hollowed out. Sigh, bearing humiliation. Compromising my essence for survival, I let out a sigh. No longer hesitating, I bit my finger and dripped blood onto the jade pendant. Instantly, an obscure and difficult text flooded my mind. Ziwu Duanyang. The ghost energy absorbed by the pendant turned into a clear light, flowing through my limbs and bones. I had finally started cultivating. The next day I slept until the afternoon. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw over 20 missed calls on my phone, and a bunch of text messages. Boss, save me. Bastard, you burned the offerings at the wrong place. My grandpa has returned. It was yesterday's employer. My heart skipped a beat. An ominous premonition welled up in my heart. Damn it can't be this messed up, right? Isn't one female ghost enough? Now another one. I quickly called back, but no one answered. My text messages also went unanswered. Damn it, I hope nothing actually happened to Yawen. I put down my phone and started to feel the changes in my body. The Ziwu Duanyang technique circulated in my mind. I felt a wave of heat surging through my body, finally settling in my danshan. And the yang essence sucked away by the female ghost had actually been replenished. This technique is awesome. I tried channeling the power of the old shop again. With a mere thought, with a crash, the front door opened on its own without any wind. So magical, I felt as if I had become one with this house. I rummaged through my grandpa's belongings and found an old box. It was full of ancient books. They were all about how to run a paper craft shop, generate yin energy, and even alchemy and talisman drawing. This unreliable old man. I couldn't help but curse him again. If I had found this earlier, would I be in such a miserable state? In a small booklet, I saw my grandpa's records of receiving ghosts. It also repeatedly mentioned Quo Zi and Da Zui, these night-roaming gods. I formed a guess in my mind. Unknowingly it got dark again. I sat behind the counter, feeling uneasy, just like a new bride waiting for her veil to be lifted. Little brother, the red-clothed female ghost, came again. She sat opposite me charmingly. It's a tough way to make a living. Why not just give in to me? It'll let you enjoy a heavenly experience. She leaned in close to my face, almost at zero distance. My breath hitched. I could feel the coercive pressure of the old house. It's useless against her. Don't get any bad ideas, little brother. She looked at me with a smile, as if she had me right where she wanted me. I squeezed my eyes shut, repeating to myself, I'm not listening, it's just anyway what she's after is my young essence. As long as I don't give it to her, the advantage is mine. Right at that moment, 4 knocks came from outside the door again. I took a deep breath. A dark silhouette came in. It roared and charged inside. I instinctively activated the old house's power. Bang. The 2 doors slammed shut, sending the dark shadow flying out directly. I breathed a sigh of relief. The power of this house gave me confidence. I opened the door. A skinny ghost, looking like a little patrolling demon, was lying on the ground completely dizzy. What do you want to buy? I asked. The demon ghost scrambled up, put his hands on his hips, and roared. Without another word, my palm onto the counter. Bang. The door slammed shut again, smashing that demon ghost directly into a pile of black ash. When the door opened again, the ghost staggered back up. It looked at the door in terror, turned around and fled. Seeing this scene, I was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help but swear, damn. These things aren't that fierce, are they? I seem to have suddenly figured it out. You can't use human laws when dealing with ghosts. You have to follow the law of the jungle. As long as I'm fierce enough and strong enough, just fighting them is all it takes. Just then, a fierce ghost dragging his intestines swaggered in. Little beast, your grandpa is here. A section of his intestines flopped onto the floor, looking utterly aggressive. Old ghost Lin is dead, and the night-roaming gods have retreated too. Kid, your good days are over. Listening to this guy spouting nonsense, I instantly narrowed my eyes and clenched my fists. Hey little bastard. Did you hear what I said? The disemboweled ghost saw me sitting up perfectly straight and thought I was paralyzed by fear. He actually swaggered right towards me. His hideous face was filled with a reckless grin. Watching him approach step by step, bang. I slammed my hand on the table, activating the old house's power with all my might. Since we're going to fight, I can't back down. With a loud hum, an invisible oppressive force instantly surged through the paper craft shop. This guy was immediately pressed down, his posture sinking. Before he could even react, a massive force dragged him and hurled him out the door. Kid, how dare you? Could finish his words, the 2 doors slammed shut with a fierce bang. The noise scared the disemboweled ghost into a full body shiver. The ferocity on his face completely vanished. Looking at his cowardly state, I finally breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. It seems the power of this old house can indeed suppress these blind fools. Phew. I slowly stood straight, staring at the disemboweled ghost lying on the ground. He stared at me with wide eyes, his head probably full of question marks. I'm already this fierce, and the intestines I dragged out are so long. How does this kid still dare to make a move? Where did his cultivation come from? To be honest, I wasn't really afraid. It was more just disgusting. That disemboweled look was truly nauseating. What do you want to buy? I asked in a deep voice. To my surprise, the disemboweled ghost opened his mouth and cursed. Little bastard. My face darkened. I cursed back, and without another word, I directly activated the old house's power. Bang. Bang. A series of muffled thuds struck like an invisible sledgehammer, smashing fiercely onto his body. After a few heavy blows, the ghost's body shrank significantly out of nowhere. He looked like a smashed weight. The way he looked at me lost its previous arrogance, leaving only terror. This kid isn't a rookie. He was probably starting to panic inside, stammering out a plea for mercy. I'm not buying anything. I'm just looking around. Let me go. While saying this, he was cursing me countless times in his head. Who the fuck said old Taoist Lin's grandson was easy to push around? The fierce look in this kid's eyes. As clearly a ruthless guy. I thought I could make a fortune, but I ended up with nothing. He struggled desperately. But that pressure trapped him like chains. He couldn't move at all, finally completely out of options. He looked up at me. What do you want? You stepped into my Jiayuan shop. What do you think I want? I asked back with a smile. The ghost froze, then yelled at the top of his lungs, I'm not here to buy. Bang. I slammed my hand hard on the table again, and the oppressive pressure crashed down once more. No way. Once you enter you must buy. You have to spend money here. This actually provoked his stubbornness. He looked up and cursed bullshit. What if I don't buy anything? Even your grandfather old Taoist Lin didn't dare force a sale. You little... Halfway through his sentence, he suddenly started trembling in fear. Because I had already stood up, walking toward him, while taking off my Taoist robe. Seeing my posture, it was obvious I was about to take this ghost-burning item and throw it straight over his head. You little brat, what are you doing? We're friends, don't mess around. Brother, let's talk this out, bro. Seeing I had already walked and the golden Taoist robe was about to cover him. I'll buy. The ghost stared at the robe in my hands, shouting in absolute despair, "Then what do you want?" I instantly put on a friendly and amiable smile. But this guy dawdled for a long time, unable to squeeze out a single word. "Speak." I shouted furiously. He shivered in fear again, and a hint of grievance actually appeared on his hideous face. "What are you selling?" I glared at him. "Incense, joss paper, gold, and silver ingots." "Tell me, then I'll take gold ingots," he replied, stuttering. I turned around, took a bag of gold ingots from the counter, and threw it right at his feet. "Pay up. Give me ghost energy." "No, wait." He looked at the ingots on the ground, then looked at me, seeing me clenching my left fist and holding the Taoist robe in my right hand. His lips trembled for a long time. Finally he gritted his teeth. Pfft. A piece of intestine snapped and fell to the ground. His entire figure instantly became a bit more transparent. I cast a disgusted glance at the gross thing, then with a thought, I withdrew the oppressive pressure, feeling his body lighten. The ghost grabbed the gold ingots and ran. Only when he was out the door did he dare yell at the top of his lungs, "You animal. Forced buying and selling. Even your grandfather wasn't as ruthless as you. Just you wait, I'm gonna report you." Inside the room, I couldn't be bothered with him, and simply closed the front door. Exhaling a breath of stale air, I slumped into the rocking chair and clutched my chest, thrilling. That was so fucking thrilling. Right at that moment, the red-clothed female ghost appeared in a flash, materializing right in front of me, and staring at me with keen interest. "You really have a lot of nerve, kid, to actually pull off a forced trade like that." I hurriedly straightened my Taoist robe, and looked at her warily. "Aren't you afraid a horde of ghosts will overrun your Jiayuan shop? These guys' intelligence can't suppress their vicious nature. Once enraged, they'll attack anyone without hesitation." She added lightly, "After all having died in a muddle, why would they care about dying again? Intelligence can't suppress vicious nature." My heart skipped a beat, seeing my confused expression. She hopped up and sat on the counter, wagging her slender jade-like finger at me. "Don't be fooled by their appearance. After all, the true nature of all things is fierce." Hearing this, I furrowed my brows, but I was in no mood to discuss philosophy with her. Frankly, I didn't believe her at all. I bypassed her, walked over to the severed intestine, and took out the jade pendant. The next second the intestine turned into a wisp of black smoke, and was completely absorbed by the jade pendant. A warm sensation instantly spread throughout my entire body. I couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Everything went fairly smoothly. Seeing that I was ignoring her, the red-clothed female ghost felt bored. With a flash of her figure, she disappeared. Only then did I completely relax. The pressure this female ghost gave me was too overwhelming. Whether the old shop suppression power worked on her, I had absolutely no idea. When those two ghosts entered earlier, she was clearly standing right there. Yet they acted as if they didn't see her. There are only two possibilities. Either those two ghosts were blind, or the terror of this female ghost has already exceeded my imagination. I'm more inclined to believe the latter. This also means that shaking her off would be harder than climbing to heaven. As for what she said about enraging wild ghosts, I was well aware. Once my grandfather died, and the night-roaming gods withdrew, this Jiayuan shop became a piece of fat meat in the eyes of wandering spirits. Since that's the case, I just have to face them head-on. Where there is oppression, there is resistance. At worst, I'll oppress them a little less in the future. Who asked me to be so short on ghost energy right now? I grumbled inwardly. Anyway, from now on, as long as a ghost walks through that door, business must be done. Even if it's by force. If it's about being fierce, well, see who's fiercer. I leaned back in my chair, and unknowingly fell asleep while pondering, until a gust of gloomy wind jolted me awake. The moment I opened my eyes, the red-clothed female ghost was standing right in front of me, hooting slightly. She even beckoned me with her finger. Great, this woman is here to collect her dues again. I picked up my phone and looked. It was almost dawn, so I resigned to my fate, stood up, took off half my Taoist robe, and hesitantly leaned closer. After a swift drain, my legs felt a bit weak as I backed away, dizzy and seeing stars. The red-clothed female ghost wiped her red lips in satisfaction, winked at me, and then disappeared. Just then a rooster crowed, warding off evil spirits. I breathed a sigh of relief, went back to my bedroom and lay down, stroking the jade pendant in my hand. A ray of cyan light merged into my limbs and bones, ultimately converging in my dantian. Not only was the drained essence instantly replenished, but the wave of heat in my body had also more than doubled. I tried to channel it, and a warm sensation instantly covered a third of my body. Then its power exhausted, it retreated back into my dantian. A few more times, and this energy might just fill my entire body. I closed my eyes, and silently chanted the Ziwu Duanyang technique. The heaven-defying nature of the magical jade pendant fully revealed itself, if not for the tangible results of these two experiences. Relying on my own bitter cultivation, who knows how many years it would take. Sigh, what a pity. Only one such sucker came all night. I suddenly regretted it a little. I regretted that too few ghosts came last night. If there had been more, maybe I could have cultivated that energy to cover my entire body by tonight. Then I could kick evil spirits and punch vicious ghosts. The one it beat the hardest would be that female ghost in red. It not only beat her but also pin her down and cover her mouth. It looked at her and say, "Don't you like to suck? Come and suck it for me." Just as I was daydreaming, I casually glanced at my phone. That employer still hadn't called. He Shengxiong, I muttered and fell asleep with a trace of worry. Meanwhile, as the sky began to lighten, it seemed like a few ghosts were discussing in the distance. Damn, is this kid really that fierce? How dare he force us to trade? Isn't he afraid? Well, go crazy. When I go crazy, it even bite a passing dog. It's dawn, let's go. Hurry, let's wait until nightfall. Well, go crazy together. To death. At sunrise, the atmosphere in a top private hospital in Yanbei was tense. A man and two women were lying in a high-end ward. On the bed near the door, a pale man with sunken eyes and dark circles was clearly unconscious. Yet his body trembled, occasionally baring his teeth ferociously, his congested gums ready to burst. A few nurses tried to hold him down, but they shrank back in terror the moment they touched his skin. His skin is so cold. Director has as cold as a block of ice. The old director stared at the monitor and said in a deep voice, keep giving him sedatives. After one injection, the man calmed down for only a few breaths before struggling madly again. His arms twisted at bizarre angles as if he wanted to lift the bed. Seeing this scene, everyone gasped in shock. The old director, who had been constantly monitoring, took a deep breath and said no one dared to back down, because the person lying on the bed was He Shengxiong, chairman of Yanbei's top financial conglomerate, the He Group, along with his wife and daughter. Suddenly a nurse exclaimed, "She's awake. The miss is awake." On the bed in front of him, a young girl's delicate brows were furrowed tightly as if she had experienced extreme terror. Her eyelids twitched wildly before she abruptly opened them. A terrified scream echoed throughout the ward. On the other side, I woke up after sleeping for less than 2 hours. The employer's matter kept me worried. Visiting the wrong grave in the underworld is like getting into the wrong bridal sedan chair in the living world. Now I've offended more than just the female ghost in red, but also He Shengxiong, who was supposed to enjoy the offerings. I dug out the ancient book left by my grandfather and started cramming methods to deal with ghosts. I was already prepared for the worst. Ghosts fear willow branches and spirits fear peach wood. I silently memorized it while flipping through the pages, looking just like a model student. Right at this moment, my phone rang suddenly. I subconsciously answered, "Hello." "No." 8 Gongyuan West Street, Qinhuai District. An extremely weak female voice came from the phone. I immediately realized it was my employer, He Yawen. It seemed the situation I least wanted to see had still happened. "It'll be right there." I hung up the phone, rummaged through the shop for a long time, and finally only grabbed a backpack stuffing my Taoist robe inside. The old mansion's power could only be used in the shop. Once I stepped out, I had to rely on myself. The willow branches and peach wood recorded in the ancient book both require cultivation to support them. Even if ordinary people held them, they would still need to withstand the ghost's counterattack. There's no way anything could happen in broad daylight, right? Although I was reluctant. Since I caused this mess, I had to make this trip. Before leaving, I grabbed a sack and stuffed it with a bunch of incense and paper money as an apology gift. I took a taxi to No. 8 West Gongyuan Street. At a glance, I locked onto the girl sitting outside the cafe, under the patio umbrella. Even though I was far away, I could tell something was wrong with her. While I was thinking, a group of men in black suits surrounded me from all directions. Just as I realized something was off, a pair of hands clamped down on my back. Oh crap, my heart skipped a beat. Before I could even speak, someone covered my mouth. Several burly men formed a circle and directly dragged me under the patio umbrella. Only then did I get a clear look at the girl. She was wearing a hospital gown. She wasn't very old, with delicate features, but her face was terrifyingly pale. She exuded an aura of total exhaustion. "Are you He Yawen?" I asked hesitantly. "Lin Mo, 21 years old, dropped out in your sophomore year to inherit your grandfather's paper craft shop in the old town. You barely make a living by selling incense and paper money. You only eat 1 meal a day." He Yawen stared at me, her weak voice filled with suppressed anger. I was taken aback. I didn't expect to have my background thoroughly investigated as soon as I stepped out, especially the phrase "barely make a living," which made me subconsciously rub my nose. Damn it, they were dead on. Last year there were times I only ate once every 2 days. Looking at her complexion, regarding what had happened, I had already guessed about 80% of it, operating on the principle of admitting my mistakes and taking my punishment like a man. I spoke up directly. "Give me your hand." While recalling the knowledge from the ancient books, I reached out and grabbed her arm. Although He Yawen was angry, she hesitated and didn't struggle. She even used a look to stop the men in black who were about to make a move. At this moment she was like a drowning person, desperately trying to clutch at a straw. If I were just an ordinary scammer, I would definitely have to pay the price for my mistake. But if I really had a solution, then I was the exact straw she was looking for. I actually didn't think too much about it. I just gathered the wave of heat in my body at my fingertips and slowly probed into her body. In an instant, a wave of coldness fed back from her, which was then slowly dispelled by my heat wave. It works. I breathed a sigh of relief. This yin energy on her body felt quite similar to the sensation I had when the red-clothed female ghost tortured me, only much weaker. As for He Yawen, she immediately felt a warm current covering her arm. The icy coldness sweeping her entire body seemed to melt away a little. She couldn't help but sigh in relief. A touch of color visibly returned to her face. Seeing this, I was just about to pull my hand back and tentatively ask if she felt better. Who knew her reaction would be even faster? She grabbed my wrist with a backhand grip and refused to let go no matter what. "You really can deal with these things," she said with an anxious expression. "Come with me to the hospital right now to save my parents." When I heard this, my heart skipped another beat. Saving them isn't the hard part, but what I'm doing only treats the symptoms, not the root cause. The key lies with that old ghost outside the paper craft shop. I wasn't sure if I could handle him. Before I could say anything, the surrounding men in black were already cracking their knuckles. "Hey, we can't do this the hard way." I quickly took a few steps back, my eyes full of vigilance, Missy burning offerings at the wrong grave was my fault. I sincerely apologize and am willing to take responsibility, but... I smiled awkwardly, wanting to say I wasn't confident, but the words caught in my throat. I have my own difficulties, could you just wait a moment? As soon as I said that, blood instantly rushed to He Yaowen's face. She was furious. She didn't say a word, with just a single look. The surrounding burly men closed in on me. Not far away a fleet of black luxury cars pulled up. Every single license plate had matching premium numbers. By the looks of it, they were going to kidnap me by force. Kid, as long as you get the job done, the He group will make it well worth your while. But if you screw this up, Hushui Bay will be your final resting place. The burly man restraining me threatened in a low voice. I didn't care much about the threat. Instead, my ears caught a key phrase. He leading enterprise in Yanbei. With hundreds of billions in assets, they were top-tier elites known to everyone. Looking again at the uniformed luxury cars and bodyguards, a rush of excitement suddenly went straight to my head. It was the power of poverty. Wait, why didn't you just say you were from the He group? Being so vague makes it really hard for us to work together. I shoved the burly men aside. Under everyone's confused gazes I spun around. My demeanor changing instantly. Helping others is a virtue of mine. Owning up to my mistakes is my life motto. Most importantly, serving the He group is my absolute duty. I spoke with utmost conviction and slung the sack I brought over my shoulder. Which car am I taking? Stop staring, let's go. Watching me eagerly run toward the cars, the crowd was a bit stunned, miss. A bodyguard supporting He Yaowen asked softly. Let's go. He Yaowen shook her head. She had no other choice now. We quickly got into the cars. I sat inside the stretched limousine, surrounded by a group of bodyguards glaring at me. Although it was uncomfortable, my mind was already racing. Originally, when it came to dealing with that old ghost He Shengxiong, I really didn't have full confidence. I still needed more time. But if the client was a god of wealth like the He group, then the situation was entirely different. After all, poverty is the ultimate catalyst. It can make a man grow up overnight. Whatever wrongs old man he had committed. I had just burned offerings at the wrong grave. It wasn't some unforgivable blood feud. I muttered to myself, while sorting through the paper gold and silver ingots in my sack. With this level of sincerity in my apology, it would absolutely be enough. A while later, the convoy pulled into a private hospital in the suburbs. After getting out, He Yaowen walked straight up to me. Her tone was grave. Are you confident you can deal with him? Hearing this, I frowned slightly. Let's go up and take a look first. I can't guarantee anything else, but I can at least make your parents feel a bit better. We'll talk about the rest later. Leaving those words behind, I walked straight toward the elevator. Once I reached the second floor, I didn't need anyone to lead the way. I could already feel a bone-piercing chill gathering in the hospital room at the end of the hall. Without a word, I grabbed my sack and strode right over. How does he know the master and madam are in there? One of the bodyguards muttered in confusion. Seeing this, the tense string in He Yaowen's heart loosened slightly. Her eyes couldn't help but well up with tears. The ordeal of the past 2 days had nearly crushed her. She composed herself and was just about to follow me, when suddenly an argument broke out in the hospital room. The loudest voice belonged to me. Uncle John, go check it out. He Yaowen hurried over, supported by others. Inside the room, a doctor was shielding the bed. A machine was also blocking my way. Kid, this is the newest thermostat. Don't mess around with it. Hey, all of you, get out of my way. I scolded in annoyance. My eyes locked onto the middle-aged man on the bed, as locked inside a machine. Like a roast duck. This thing looks high-tech, but to my senses, this man is covered in yin energy, has already frozen like a block of ice, in less than 3 days. He'll definitely die. Step aside, all of you. It'll show you a miracle. It'll just take a moment. I advised them helplessly, but to the doctors I sounded like a charlatan. Bullshit. Get him out right now. Several doctors tried to push me away together. Just then, He Yaowen and the old director appeared. Stop it, all of you. The old director shouted in a deep voice. The doctors were about to complain, but He Yaowen pulled the old director aside and whispered a few words. I ignored the commotion at the door and struggled to open that so-called incubator. As soon as I touched the middle-aged man, a freezing chill made me shiver. Damn it, something's not right. This yin energy is incredibly dense. I turned around, just in time to see the old director point at the doctors and say, you guys come out first. Once they left reluctantly, He Yaowen immediately walked up to me. How is it? Is it tough? I pinched the bridge of my nose. Go find some willow branches. I need new shoots from an old stump. The more leaves the better. There should be some in the green belt downstairs. He Yaowen froze for a moment, seemingly a bit doubtful. Ah, never mind. I'll go myself. I turned to run out, but a bodyguard at the door immediately stopped me, while another turned and ran outside. In less than a minute, the guy came back carrying a huge bundle of willow branches. I grabbed a few branches and gripped them tightly. I could faintly hear the doctors at the door sneering disdainfully. Motherfuckers, I muttered under my breath. Since I didn't name anyone, those doctors naturally assumed I meant them, and their faces darkened with anger. I turned around, opened the machine, gripped the willow branches, and whipped the middle-aged man viciously. Smack. A crisp sound rang out, but the next second, an eerie noise echoed through the ward. It was clearly a soft willow branch, but when it struck him, it sounded like a red-hot iron hitting a block of ice. The ear-piercing sizzle made everyone outside turn pale. The bodyguards immediately shielded He Yaowen behind them, looking uncertain and alarmed. What is that sound? It's making my scalp tingle. That kid must be playing tricks. One doctor said stubbornly. But why does it feel real? Look, those willow branches are smoking from the strikes. Shut up. The old director scolded, ordering all the medical staff to step back. Then he looked at He Yawen with complex eyes, and gently shook his head. I've seen some people like this before, but I was too insignificant to ever get in touch with them. I didn't expect Miss He to be so resourceful, actually managing to contact people from that place. People from that place. He Yawen's heart skipped a beat. As she instinctively looked at me, she saw me whipping him over and over again. With every strike, an invisible chilling yin energy rose from the middle-aged man, and evaporated into thin air. It was actually working. Once most of his yin energy had dissipated, I finally put down the willow branches. By now, the grimace had faded from the middle-aged man's face, and his complexion was returning to normal. Hey, come take a look, I shouted to the old director. The old director hurried forward to examine him. I went to the other hospital bed. On it lay an exceptionally well-groomed woman. Her face, however, was equally pale. Fortunately, she didn't have much yin energy on her. After a few strikes with my whip, and forcibly dispersing the yin energy, the effect was immediate. The woman's eyelids fluttered, and she suddenly sat up, instinctively grabbing onto me tightly. He Yawen ran over crying. I was startled by the crying, silently pulled my hand away, and watched the mother and daughter hug each other, and weep. Phew, I took a deep breath, and walked to the ward's door. It was close, but this situation finally put my mind at ease a bit. Still my brows didn't relax in the slightest. Just what kind of resentment would make this He Shengxiong take such brutal revenge on his own descendants? I instinctively reached for a cigarette, only to remember I had already quit. Half an hour later, He Yawen walked over, and rubbed her red teary eyes. Just call me Lin Mo. I smiled, then immediately returned to a serious expression. Tell me exactly what happened to you before. She adjusted her mindset, and sat down beside me, her shoulders still trembling slightly. It was on the Ghost Festival, right after midnight. He came back. We suddenly felt a bone-piercing cold, and heard heavy footsteps in our ears. Step by step, they seemed to be getting closer. I gathered my courage and walked out of the room. But no matter how I ran, the footsteps were always right in front of me, always getting closer and closer. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel he was right in front of me. Saying this, He Yawen suddenly clutched her head, seeming to fall into extreme terror. I was quite used to it by now. What was that in comparison? I had been held down and kissed by a ghost, and even had intestines thrown right in my face. So did you come into contact with him? Right now I just wanted to know He Shengxiong's attitude. He Yawen looked up, nodded first, then shook her head. I'm not sure what exactly happened. I can't really explain it. I was terrified, but I can't recall the details. How could she not remember? I frowned, feeling that something wasn't quite right. A ghost's every action is tied to resentment. For He Shengxiong to torment his own family like this, what exactly was it for? Unable to figure it out, I simply put it aside for now. Do you have time to take a trip with me now? Are we going to deal with him? He Yawen immediately asked, not necessarily to fight him. Ultimately this happened because I went to the wrong grave. Naturally, I'll step up and handle this. Well, try diplomacy before resorting to force. I stood up. Bring him and come with me to 2 places. Where to? He Yawen immediately stood up, looking at me eagerly, looking at her helpless appearance. I curled my lips. I still preferred her aloof and bossy look from earlier. Soon the convoy arrived outside a villa. The men in black were much more polite this time, taking the initiative to open the car door for me. This is my home. He Yawen stood to the side looking at the villa, but her eyes were filled with fear. I looked up, and secretly took a sharp breath. As expected of the He Group, a huge villa right in the city center. Others might live close to the CBD, but this was built right inside the CBD itself. Filthy rich, I spat in my mind, but kept a straight face. Don't panic. I glanced at the bodyguard, hesitated for a moment, and said, give me a cigarette. The bodyguard was stunned for a second, then pulled out a pack of Chunghwa and handed it to me. Chunghwa? Hey! My eyes lit up. Another bodyguard nearby immediately flicked his lighter and lit it for me. I didn't hold back, taking a deep drag. The harsh smoke hit my throat and filled my lungs. Before I transmigrated, I was a heavy smoker, but after coming to this world, I got poorer and poorer. In the end, I could only sigh. Poverty can cure any addiction. And now I secretly glanced at He Yawen, a top-tier tycoon. Damn, I'm gonna be rich. I'm definitely gonna be rich. I took another deep drag of the cigarette, making me roll my eyes from the buzz. Then I flicked the cigarette butt away, and strode toward the villa. Behind me, He Yawen couldn't understand my weird behavior. She looked confusedly at Uncle Zhang, the head bodyguard. Uncle Zhang recalled his background check on me, scoffing inwardly. This kid is so poor he can't even afford to smoke. Inside the villa, I cleared my mind and sensed the surroundings. The yin energy was unexpectedly low. I walked around, and finally found a spot where the lingering yin energy was the thickest. I opened the sack, and laid out a row of paper gold and silver ingots. I also lit 3 incense sticks. To old master, I gave a slight bow, and called out softly, while my hands formed a hand seal I learned from my grandfather's book, the spirit channeling seal. As a wave of heat flowed through my body, I called out a few more times, but there was absolutely no reaction. Instead, He Yawen and a group of bodyguards surrounded me, their faces full of doubt. Feeling a bit awkward, I released the hand seal, straightened my back, and switched to plan B. The living Lin Mo has disregarded the taboos and breached the etiquette. Today I come with gifts. paving the way with gold and silver, and building bridges with paper money. I hope you can be magnanimous, and spare your descendants. After speaking, I scattered another handful of paper money. I walked around the room like this, seeing that the 3 incense sticks were almost burnt out. Done. I turned and waved at He. She quickly caught up with me. Is that it? I took out the Chunghwa cigarette, and took another deep lung-hitting drag. Damn it, I haven't smoked for a year. I'm still a bit unused to it. The living offer incense and ghosts accept the gifts. To put it plainly, it's just like worldly interactions. Since he accepted the offerings, it means he won't be too difficult to deal with. Only then did He Yawen understand why I kept staring at the paper ingots and money earlier. So that's how it works. Then everything is fine now. She breathed a sigh of relief. It's not over yet. Come with me to another place. With a cigarette dangling from my lips, I walked straight to the luxury car. Uncle Zhang looked at my frivolous demeanor with a deep frown, but remembering how I used a willow branch in the hospital to wake someone up, he couldn't help but reconsider. In the blink of an eye it was afternoon. Shangyuan Cemetery. I brought He Yawen to the grave where I had made the mistake. Cemetery plot 1107. I stared at the portrait on the tombstone. A bald old man, with a gaunt face full of wrinkles. His eyes were eerily sunken, looking like 2 inexplicably creepy black holes. With just one look I couldn't help but look away. Fierce, an indescribable ferocity like a needle, prickled my back and made it tense. This time you do it yourself. Offer incense to your grandfather sincerely. Say as many good things as you can. Don't care if it's against your conscience. The important thing is to say nice things. I said to He Yawen, who was kneeling on the ground. And there was something I didn't say aloud. He Shengxiong didn't get to enjoy the offering, so his ferocity erupted. I can understand that. There's no need to torment his own descendants like this, unless... I shook my head, standing aside with a cigarette in my mouth, staring intently at the yin-yang gold ingots laid out. He Yawen was also really putting in the effort. Whether it was genuine emotion or out of fear, she was crying while burning the paper money. We kept at it until evening. Seeing that the sun was about to set, I called for her to get ready to leave. The yin energy at Shangyuan Cemetery was far too heavy. It was practically a ghost nest. Is it completely resolved now? He Yawen looked at me, her tone already filled with trust. It's settled. I've apologized and made amends, and you kowtowed and admitted fault. We've done all the right things socially, so ghosts won't just be unreasonable, I said thoughtfully. He Yawen opened her mouth, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't speak. When we got outside the cemetery, I looked back at the entrance. A group of people in their 30s and 40s were guarding it. I remembered there was only a gap-toothed old man last time. However, I didn't pay it much mind, and just got straight into the car. Inside the car I leaned back lazily against the leather seats, feeling pretty pleased with myself. I had finally solved a major problem. Little did I know right after we left, that group of people at the entrance set their sights on our car, has clearly just a kid who hasn't even entered the path of cultivation yet. But his yang energy is off the charts. Has a good prospect. We can keep an eye on him. Maybe we can recruit him into our department. Wait, why does he have a trace of yin energy on him? Just as they were chatting, a panicked voice suddenly came through the walkie-talkie. Not good, there's a situation up on the mountain. Damn it! Everyone gather and head up the mountain at the same time. Inside the He family villa there was an eerie muffled bang. The yin-yang gold ingots I had placed earlier exploded out of thin air, turning into a pile of dust. The paper money was also torn to shreds in mid-air. Meanwhile I hurried back as fast as I could, and finally returned to the old alley before dark. These rich folks don't understand worldly etiquette at all. I put in so much effort and all I get is a thank you. I complained, slapping my thigh involuntarily. They should have at least given me a check. Cursing and grumbling, I ran into the paper craft shop. I skillfully lit a cigarette, and took a deep drag into my lungs, rolling my eyes back in comfort. Sure enough, Chunghwa cigarettes hit the spot, without even making me cough. But then I thought about it. This cigarette was traded for a bag of paper money, and I couldn't feel happy anymore. Sure enough, people shouldn't overthink things. Afraid of comparisons, I leaned back in my chair, and picked up a book again. He Shengxiong's matter was considered resolved, but my technique was still too rusty. The nether passage seal wasn't working well either. Was it because my skills weren't up to par or what? The more I thought about it, the more off it felt. I kept feeling that either this went too smoothly, or it was. I instinctively pinched the bridge of my nose, and opened the ancient book. Before transmigrating, reading always made me sleepy. After transmigrating, id actually kicked that habit. Recently there's a female ghost demanding my essence every day. I have to work hard at this, and I absolutely must escape poverty. Thinking of this, I was full of motivation. I buried my head in hard work. Little brother. An enchanting voice brushed past my ear. I turned my head, and my heart skipped a beat, but I quickly adjusted. I'll hand over the essence after the rooster crows, I said warily, and continued to bury myself in the book. The red-clothed female ghost glanced at me. I had forgotten to wear my Taoist robe. A hint of greed flashed in her eyes, and she reached out her hand subconsciously, but suddenly she noticed something was off, although I was buried in hard study. The corner of my eye remained tightly focused on her, my other hand was still hidden under my knee, tightly clutching a piece of my Taoist robe. She smiled beautifully, and said, "Little guy." Even the way she addressed me had changed. "Are you trying to play tricks on me, trying to see if I'll break our agreement, and swallow you whole?" My heart skipped a beat, but I still pretended not to hear her, and focused on my book. This was indeed a crude test on my part. With a female ghost sucking my yang energy daily, there was no way I could completely trust her. If she was willing to take it slow and steady, it'd just treat it like paying off a mortgage. If I could afford it, there was still hope. If not, I was doomed. But if she was constantly plotting to kill me, I couldn't stay on guard day and night. Hey hey hey. Seeing me play dumb, she circled around me a few times, and suddenly threw her arms around me. I reflexively raised my hand, but forced myself to lower it. I chose to stay completely still. She was observing me, and I was observing her too. Little brother, I was sleeping peacefully at Shengyuan Cemetery, and you woke me up. And now you're constantly on guard against me. Don't you think you're being mean? I watched her hand slowly creep toward my neck. I took a deep breath and said sincerely, I apologize for burning offerings at the wrong grave. I'm also willing to share my yang energy with you, as long as we can both just live in peace. She covered her face and giggled, her fingers gently brushing across my lips. But you've broken my heart and ruined your sincerity. My breath caught in my throat. I instantly regretted being so reckless. I want to double it. I'm taking your energy twice a day now. I froze, staring at her hungry expression, and firmly replied, no. A deal is a deal. We agreed on once a day, and that's it. Is that so? She raised an eyebrow. I was terrified internally, but I kept a stoic expression. I couldn't afford to show any weakness. Then I'll add a condition. She suddenly leaned in close, her red lips nearly brushing my face. During the years I spent slumbering, I kept hearing a specific name in my half-conscious state. He was a naturally born evil spirit, who became fiercely malevolent after death. On the 7th night after his death, he devoured several minor ghosts who tried to rob his coffin. I'm sure you'd be very interested in him. My interest was immediately piqued. Who is it? She blinked her beautiful eyes and suddenly nestled into my arms, looking up to meet my gaze. Her red lips parted slightly as she spoke. He Shengxiong. My heart instantly skipped a beat. I instinctively pushed her away. Are you serious? Naturally. Your little apology tricks from today couldn't even fool a living person, let alone an extremely vicious ghost. You're dreaming. She shrugged. Hearing those words, I gasped. Seeing me lost in thought, a flash of cunning crossed her eyes. It's agreed then, once a day from now on. I ignored her, feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. Her words seemed to explain why He Yawen had been so hesitant. Under normal circumstances, a ghost wouldn't leave any survivors when killing. But He Shengxiong specifically chose to torture his own blood relatives. Coupled with the fact that my paper offerings failed to reach him both times, there was only one explanation. He was extremely vindictive. He was an absolute monster. He wasn't acting out of resentment. It was purely out of malice. As for me, the guy who burned offerings at the wrong grave, I facepalmed hard. The more I thought about it, the more screwed I felt. Of course there was a chance this female ghost was just trying to scare me. Whatever ill, just take it one step at a time. The worst case scenario was that had come looking for me. I stood up, standing in the paper craft shop. I was full of heroic spirit. Damn it, if he has the guts, let him break into my Jiayuan building. I turned around, found a wooden board and a brush, and scrawled a line of text on it. I hung it at the door. Looking up, I saw a dense crowd of dark shadows gathered outside. The moment I stepped out, both sides were startled. I braced my courage, hung the sign properly, and as I turned to go back inside, I subconsciously glanced deep into the alley where faintly a shroud of mist could be seen. Night roaming gods. My heart tightened. I closed the door. Outside, the group of ghost shadows swarmed up again. That kid's gaze was so vicious just now. Did you guys notice? A whole group of us fierce ghosts are here, and he wasn't scared at all when he saw us. Isn't that vicious? Let's see what he wrote first. Is it a letter of surrender? What does this say? I've forgotten how to read. Get someone who can read. A little ghost holding his own head, squeezed to the front and the head in his arms, spoke up. Old shop open for business. Everything at 70% off. The ghosts fell into a dead silence. What does 70% off mean? All the ghosts looked bewildered. The disemboweled ghost looked at the incense and candles, and muttered, who cares what it means? Let's just rob it. All the ghost shadows instantly became restless. Go. A ghost shadow stared at the disemboweled ghost. The rug aligned of going through. Before he could speak, he realized the surrounding ghosts had all quieted down, and instinctual malice began to permeate the air. Hurry up and go. If you don't, well, the disemboweled ghost's lips trembled. In a trance, he seemed to recall a sliver of memory from his life. The adulterer stole my wife. He inexplicably let out a vicious sound, and the whole ghost began to go mad. Right at this moment, a furious shout of mine came from the shop. Damn it. If you're not doing business, get the hell away. Instantly, the terrifying atmosphere was shattered. All the ghost shadows started chattering again. Where were we? Disemboweled, you go. You were the one who went last night. Several ghost shadows directly shoved the disemboweled ghost to the door. The disemboweled ghost looked utterly confused. Did I just remember something? He only realized something was wrong when he reached the door. He turned his head to curse at them, but was greeted by several thumbs up. Look sharp, don't embarrass us. It's all on you. Flattered by this, the disemboweled ghost immediately grinned and looked at the shop majestically and proudly. At this time I was getting impatient waiting inside. I heard them chattering outside, but no ghost came in. That was why I shouted just now. Fortunately, a moment later I sensed a ghost approaching. Looking up, I frowned. Why is it you again? Hearing this, the disemboweled ghost, without a word, whipped a section of his intestines onto the ground. Smack. I didn't hold back. I slammed the table, and the shop's power instantly crushed him to the floor. The front door slammed shut. Hey! You're forcing trade. I remember now. You're forcing trades. Let me go. I'm going to sue you. I glared at him in annoyance. This guy seemed pretty fierce, but now he looked less and less valuable. Alright, old rules. You must buy something if you enter the shop. I slammed the table a few more times, pressing him down like a lead weight. Tell me, what are you buying? 2 candles. He stammered. I bared my teeth and didn't say much. I took out 2 white candles and tossed them to him. He looked at his own intestines hesitantly. Then he gritted his teeth, pinched off a piece, and threw a long chunk to me. He grabbed the candles and was about to leave. Wait, I called out to him. I pulled over a bag of paper gold ingots. This bag is for you. Consider it compensation for being my first regular customer. Both yesterday's and today's trades are at a 70% discount. The tragic ghost stared at me in confusion. What's compensation? I couldn't be bothered to explain, so I just poured the gold ingots out. You caused trouble yesterday. I forgive you now. Let's just be friends. Go on. He tilted his head, grabbed a handful of ingots, looked at the remaining half and took them all. After all, keeping the female ghost's words in mind, and seeing how this guy was sometimes naive and sometimes fierce, clearly lacking in intelligence, I didn't want to cement a bad reputation for forced trading. This is the 70% discount. He left, hugging the ingots, seemingly understanding. A dense crowd of dark shadows outside immediately surrounded him. How is it? Your intestines are just a bit shorter. Did you snatch it? I told you so. Let's all go snatch it together. Hearing the voices around him, the tragic ghost instinctively wanted to agree, but on second thought it didn't feel right. No, I didn't snatch this. All the ghosts showed bewildered expressions. I bought 2 candles. This is the 70% discount. Buy first then snatch. So the 70% discount is actually gold ingots. Quiet down, everyone. He already made it very clear. Buy things to snatch the 70% discount. You can snatch it if you buy. The chaotic noises merged together. The tragic ghost walked away on his own, stopped quietly, and started biting into the candles. Occasionally he crushed a gold ingot. In a daze his face seemed to be recalling something, but ultimately he just sat on the ground dejectedly, as if he had forgotten everything. On the other side, a dripping dark shadow impatiently rushed into the shop. He shouted excitedly, buy things, snatch the 70% discount. I looked up and saw him stumbling in, thick black water oozing from his mouth. So disgusting. This guy was a water ghost. Just as I hesitated whether to suppress him first, he kept a straight face and yelled at me, bring out the 70% discount. I was puzzled. A string of curses came from outside the door. You have to buy things first before you can snatch the 70% discount. Do you know how to do it or not? If not, let me do it. The water ghost trembled from being yelled at. The black water on him spilled to the ground as if it were free. He responded frantically, seeing that I kept a straight face again. Give me 2 sticks of ebony incense, boiled in lotus leaves. I found 2 long black incense sticks from the cabinet, and handed them to him. He turned around and suddenly spat out a mouthful of thick liquid. Damn, I cursed inwardly. This was even more disgusting than intestines. But that liquid was also ghost energy, so I collected it. Looking again, the water ghost hadn't left with the incense, but was staring straight at the gold ingots by my feet. I want this. I picked up a gold ingot. His eyes suddenly lit up. He suddenly lit up. Give it to me. Then he ran outside as fast as he could, shouting loudly, I snatched the 70% discount. That little beast foolishly held up his hand for me to snatch. My mouth twitched, just as I was about to speak. Another ghost couldn't wait and came in. A smile immediately appeared on my lips. Things seemed to be developing in a good direction. What do you want? I asked cheerfully. This time it was a burned ghost. His upper body was only half there. The missing part still glowed with a faint green light. He hesitated. BB boss, I whoa. That trembling high-pitched voice made me shiver. This movement immediately made him cover his mouth, looking exactly like a young wife who had done something wrong. I don't want it, boo-hoo, I don't want it anymore. He turned around to leave. I quickly put on a smile. My bad. I neglected my customer. Just tell me whatever you need. He hesitated and turned back. Seeing my sincere expression, he suddenly whimpered, coyly covering his face. Boss, you are so nice. I shuddered with a chill, and took out a large pile of paper offerings. He looked at them for a long time, and finally stretched out 2 charred fingers coquettishly. Give me some money, flowers. I just love these flowers. But let's make it clear first. You're not allowed to laugh at me. I gritted my teeth hard. No wonder they say old hags are annoying. With this damn attitude, it's truly unbearable. I took out a bag of money flowers and handed it over. He coyly took it, tore off a cluster of faint blue flame from his body, and threw it on the ground. Boss, he called out again. I forced a smile, turned my head and took a deep breath. When I looked back, he still hadn't left. He just covered his face, looking shy and bashful. Boss, you are a good person, but I still have to snatch the 70% off deals. I hastily grabbed a handful of gold ingots, turned around and held them out. As a wave of coldness swept over my arm, I opened my eyes and saw that damn ghost running pigeon-toed, shouting as he ran, sisters, I got it. This boss is so nice. Everyone come and rob him. Behind him I just kept shivering, while the sweet laughter of the red-clothed female ghost came from the side. Not to mention with this comparison, her laughter sounded much more pleasant. In the blink of an eye half the night had passed. The smile on my face never stopped. Wearing the Taoist robe I ran back and forth several times. There were still dozens of ghosts waiting in line. Don't rush one at a time. I shouted while serving them, seeing some commotion in the back. I raised a gold ingot. The 70% off deals are up for grabs. 70% off turn to or up percent. Is an eat the doll of his foray. Helafwap deal. In 70th from pleater darnitribi. I think can matter life that's in release foray. Isn't that a gold ingot? If you buy it, it's called a gold ingot. If you snatch it, it's 70% off. We are here to rob. The rioting ghosts saw the gold ingot and immediately quieted down. I also felt amused inside. If I had known these ghosts were so easy to get along with, I wouldn't have been so scared the past few days that I held back my peas several times. But jokes aside, I also gradually figured it out. These ghosts are dazed and dull-witted, and their personalities are mostly like children. But exactly because of this, I dared not neglect them even more. Once this simple-mindedness fades, what's left will inevitably be overwhelming ferocity. So I insisted on honest trading, treating everyone fairly. As deal after deal was completed, I also collected a lot of ghost energy. I kept busy until the roosters crowed. My heart tightened. It was almost dawn, but the line of ghosts was still densely packed. Just as I was afraid of trouble breaking out, dawn broke and the queuing ghosts shuddered in unison. The excitement on their faces vanished instantly, turning into a bit of confusion. Then they uniformly turned around and left, without even leaving a word. I was stunned for a moment, then slumped into the chair in relief. Tired, but I was fully rewarded. Just then the red-clothed female ghost quietly appeared. I was in a great mood. Proactively reached out to hug her neck, lowered my head and pressed down, swallowing it in one gulp. My vision blurred, but suddenly remembering something, I grabbed 2 bags and ran to the door. The sky was still dark, with just a hint of pale light in the distance. I walked to the left side of the alley, opened a bag full of gold and silver paper ingots, and placed another bag on the right side in the same way. By the time I returned to the shop, a thick mist had quietly spread on both sides of the alley. When it dissipated, the paper ingots were gone. This kid is quite filial. More sensible than his grandfather. What's so good about his sycophancy? Quasi. Since when do you accept such petty favors? Bah, this is filial piety. I happen to like this filial piety. If you don't like it, why are you still guarding here? Kuzi, do you want to start a fight again? The 2 streams of mist violently collided, and chilling winds gusted, sweeping through the entire old alley. In the early morning view, I lay on the reclining chair, and rolled over. The jade pendant on my chest was radiating a fulfilling warm sensation. All through last night, I made trades with 20 or 30 little ghosts. The jade pendant absorbed ghost energy to the brim. It's completely full. With a thought, the jade pendant instantly emitted a cyan light. A continuous stream of heat surged into my body. I hastily recited the Ziwu Duanyang technique in my mind. As the cultivation technique circulated, the heat waves inside me continued to expand, covering my limbs and bones. A layer of golden light resembling intricate patterns wrapped around my entire body. Just as I was feeling confused, the jade pendant suddenly floated in front of me, and a beam of golden light surged directly into my glabella. I don't know how long it had been. When I opened my eyes again, my body was filled with an unprecedented intense heat, almost tangible. The second chapter of the Ziwu Duanyang technique, the scorching sun spell. I took a moment to comprehend it, and a bright smile uncontrollably spread across my face. The crimson yang energy flows through the meridians, refining the 365 major acupoints of the body. For every acupoint unblocked, the power of the crimson yang will multiply exponentially. Although the process is slow, with the Tianyuan jade here, the cultivation speed is greatly enhanced. More importantly, the crimson yang power in my body can now circulate automatically, warding off evil spirits without needing to be activated. It truly is the treasure left by my grandfather. I couldn't help but grab the jade pendant and kiss it. Now I finally have some real ability to deal with ghosts. Cultivation is great. I definitely need to cultivate. Right at this moment, my phone rang. I picked it up and saw. It was He Yawen, along with several missed calls. Hello. Just as I connected, Lin Mo finally answered the phone. Her voice carried a trace of resentment, but she quickly adjusted it. Do you have time right now? Could you come to the door for a moment? I walked to the door in confusion. Peeking out, I saw 4 or 5 burly men in black standing outside, blocking the door like ghosts. A surge of anger instantly welled up inside me. Brothers, what's the meaning of this? I shouted, raising an eyebrow. Uncle Zhang, the leader wearing sunglasses, said in a cold voice, we are only responsible for taking you there. I couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with them, and directly blasted over the phone. He Yawen, what exactly is your intention? Before I could finish, Uncle Zhang shoved a hand right in front of my nose. This rude gesture made my face darken. Curses almost blurted out of my mouth, but as he flipped his hand, a stack of cash brushed past the tip of my nose. That scent of ink made me take an intoxicating deep breath. I instantly swallowed my curses back down, and spoke softly into the phone. Having people show up at my door so suddenly, it was quite sudden. I wasn't prepared at all. Another hard object pressed against my chest. I glanced down. It was a whole carton of bright red Chunghwa cigarettes. Mister. Uncle Zhang smiled faintly, with a hint of mockery in his smile. But would I care? Miss He, whatever you need, just give the word. I Lin Mo am not one to dawdle. He'll be right there. I grabbed the money, tucked the Chunghwa under my arm, hung up the phone and ran into the yard. When I came back out, I walked right past Uncle Zhang and his men. I grinned and said, you guys must be anxious waiting. My bad, my bad. Let's go. Uncle Zhang watched my drastic change in attitude, and secretly sneered. The bodyguards next to him also looked disdainful, To tough guys like them who were firm materialists, the concept of ghosts and gods was hard to swallow. I might have some skills, but that was about it. Before long we arrived at the private hospital again. I sat on the stone bench downstairs, and eagerly devoured my boxed meal. He Yawen had changed into an elegant long dress. Uncle Zhang held an umbrella for her, and over a dozen bodyguards stood behind them, just staring at me as I ate. When I finished the meal, and pulled out a cigarette, a nearby bodyguard immediately offered a lighter. Phew, I took a deep drag of the chungwa, and leisurely rolled my eyes. Seeing my demeanor, He Yawen felt a bit amused and somewhat pitiful, but mostly she was anxious. Your dad hasn't woken up. I smoked half the cigarette, and asked. She immediately sat beside me. After you left yesterday, my mom got better very quickly, but my dad's checkup clearly showed everything was stable, yet he just won't wake up. Do you think it could be him? Still him? A trace of fear appeared on her face. I didn't answer. The female ghost's words last night had already prepared me. Let's go take a look. I tossed the cigarette butt, and went straight up to the second floor. Only the old director and 2 nurses were in the room. I walked to the bedside, and placed my hand directly on the middle-aged man. Instantly a terrifying wave of yin energy surged up. I was shocked. Yesterday I thought all the yin energy was dispelled, but activated by my pure yang power, I realized I was wrong. This man was entirely enveloped in yin energy, no different from being thoroughly soaked in it. Tsiski diadium aloris. Tsilskala kerdiat at the tremper suks did never get nowhere. Sasurdis warmas lasichikad bazar. Cyclerchi solexi remarning latal once on your figure returns here yet nugetaria saprodided areas and never do in the duration. I suddenly turned my head as a bad speculation surfaced in my mind. Lin Mo. He Yawen cried out worriedly. I withdrew my hand. Come out with me, and walked hurriedly out the door. He Yawen was so frightened her face turned pale, and she quickly followed me outside. I pointed at her and pulled out a chungwa, asking did anything go wrong with burning the paper offerings yesterday. She subconsciously shook her head. I came to the hospital right after dropping my mom's condition was getting better and better. It's just that my dad won't wake up. Just then, Uncle Zhang casually mentioned there was a call from the villa yesterday. I immediately gave him an inquiring look. Uncle Zhang, what call? How come I didn't know? He Yawen also looked at him. Around 7 p.m. last night, they said at the spot where the paper offerings were burned in the villa. A sudden gust of wind blew. I didn't wait for him to finish, and interrupted directly. Get straight to the point. What did the incense and paper turn into? Uncle Zhang frowned. The paper money flew everywhere. Maybe the night wind was just strong. Anyway, I turned around and ran away halfway through. Looking back, I yelled, what are you waiting for? Follow me. He Yawen's face turned red and pale with anger. Uncle Zhang tried to persuade her, but He Yawen took a deep breath and interrupted him. Say no more, Uncle Zhang. Him immediately follow. Once in the car, I pressed my hands against my thighs, weighed down by heavy thoughts. Where are we going now? He Yawen, sitting next to me, asked in a low voice. Shangyuan Cemetery. I closed my eyes, a storm raging in my mind. He Shengxiong returned again last night. My apologies and offerings were completely useless. He didn't accept them at all. When a ghost wants to kill, one night is enough. But of He Yawen's family of 3, 2 are fine now, leaving only her father. What exactly is his goal? Seeing that I kept quiet, He Yawen turned pale with fear. Before long we arrived at Shangyuan Cemetery again. It was already afternoon. This unlucky hour again. Let's go. I took the lead, striding up the mountain. As we walked through the main gate, I paused my steps, my eyes falling to the side. By a row of small buildings, sat 2 pale-faced men at the door, trembling with cigarettes hanging from their mouths. What is it? He Yawen asked softly. I looked away, only glancing back after walking far. Those 2 men seemed to give off an unusual vibe. The 2 men were also staring at my back. Damn it, what the hell? How did this kid change so much? His yang energy is like a mini-sun. Did he achieve a breakthrough overnight? Never mind that. Last night's supernatural disturbance almost killed several of our guys. They haven't even woken up yet. How did that thing become like that? Has only been dead for over a decade yet has so fierce. What was his name? He's something. Don't mention it, it creeps me out. We barely managed to suppress him back. I just hope he doesn't wake up tonight. Ack Mountain returning to Tomb 1107. What exactly are we going to do now? He Yawen couldn't help asking. I stared at the tombstone, taking a deep breath. Find the ghost. As soon as I said Yawen's eyes trembled with fear. Uncle Zhang and the others were also startled. Before they could react, I suddenly bent down and pressed on the tombstone, staring intently at the photo. He Shengxiong. I shouted coldly. Red yang energy covered my palms. My grandpa once said, if humans fear ghosts by 30%, ghosts fear humans by 90%. I didn't have any cultivation before, so being brave was useless. But now I've seen enough of this world. He Shengxiong. I yelled loudly again, both hands fiercely onto the tombstone. Boom. A gust of sinister wind rose out of nowhere, shrouding everyone. Even elite fighters like Uncle Zhang and his men got goosebumps all over. What's more bizarre was that the photo on the tombstone seemed to come alive, its hollow eyes staring straight at them. It was my low growl that brought everyone back to their senses. Uncle Zhang and the others snapped out of it, subconsciously reaching for their waists. He Yawen was deathly pale. Panting heavily, I shook my head at her. I can confirm that he is a fierce ghost. Your grandfather is indeed a fierce ghost. just from this tombstone. There's terrifying yin energy remaining, but I couldn't find his soul. After saying that I strode down the mountain. You guys go back tonight. Everyone is holding a bundle of willow branches. Just whip each other with them when there's nothing else to do. Just get through this night first. I whispered instructions. Wait until I go back and flip through some ancient books. I'll definitely take care of him for you. He yawned nodded. Don't see me off. You guys hurry back. You know my address right. Come pick me up at the crack of dawn tomorrow. I knew you didn't answer my call this morning, so I specially looked up your exact address. I nodded. As she turned to leave, I subtly caught a glimpse of her address out of the corner of my eye. In the blink of an eye, night fell. At the familiar bus stop, a soft feminine voice calling little brother jolted me awake. I turned my head to look, and the red-clothed female ghost was standing right beside me. She was so close that we could have kissed if I just turned my head. I took a half step back and glanced at my phone. It was only a little past 7 p.m. She truly is a powerful ghost. To be able to come out this early. I sighed inwardly. Little brother, are you afraid of He Shengxiong? She smiled charmingly, and directly wrapped her arms around my neck. I didn't answer, but my heart felt heavy. What exactly is He Shengxiong trying to do? I already had the answer. It's me. He yawned, said he forgot what happened on the night of the ghost festival. The only explanation is that the ghost searched his memories to find me the one who cut off his incense offerings. He didn't know my address at the time, which is why he hasn't come for revenge. But I've shown my face these past 2 days, especially today, when He Yawen had her people block the entrance to my shop. That guy probably already knows my location. Earlier I was even yelling for him to come at me. Now that I really think about it, I might actually be getting cold feet. The red-clothed female ghost's faint voice drifted over. I shuddered and hit her with a rapid-fire triple denial. Nonsense. I am not. Impossible. She looked at me with a reaching out smile to tap my chin. He Shengxiong didn't know where you were before, so he hasn't made a move. Now barring any accidents, he should be coming for you. She leaned closer, the tip of her nose touching my lips. Little brother, being scared is nothing to be ashamed of. I didn't retort. Instead, all my attention was on her cold, delicate nose. I even had the urge to stick out my tongue in response. Brother. She seemed to sense my thoughts, staring straight at me with enchanting eyes. Suddenly she slowly lifted her head, her red lips inching closer to my mouth. Do you want me to help you take care of him? 10 times and I'll eat him for you. I instantly snapped awake and took a step back. Damn it, this stuff is seriously addictive. But 10 times. I should be able to handle it now. It won't suck me dry. But seeing her ravenous, I cannot set this precedent. If I really rely on selling my essence to beg her, then I'll never be able to get rid of her in this lifetime. No way. I firmly shook my head. I haven't even met He Shengxiong yet. If I let you handle him now, how am I going to survive in this line of work later? I straightened my back and curled my lips into a smile. No matter what, that's my final word. The red-clothed female ghost looked at me, slightly stunned, a deeper meaning appearing in her eyes. However, I abruptly changed the subject and looked at her sheepishly. If I really can't handle him, maybe we can negotiate on those 10 times. Better yet, give me a discount. How about 5 times? She burst out laughing so hard she was rocking back and forth. Little guy, I thought you were so determined. I didn't expect you to be such a coward, she said. 10 times means 10 times. The price is fixed. I secretly curled my lips. As for whether I'm a coward, being able to resolve danger is better than anything. I sat silently on the bench. She just rested her chin on her hands, staring straight at me. I felt uncomfortable being stared at, and muttered, it's all just speculation right now. Who knows, that guy might not even come looking for me. She leaned closer with a smile. So you're deliberately hiding and not going back, just to see if He Shengxiong will find his way to the Jiayuan estate. I didn't answer, which was a tacit admission. A look of admiration appeared on her face for the first time. She muttered, cunning kid, in her heart. While I waited quietly, the night was dark at the Shengyuan cemetery. A black shadow rose instantly like a giant curtain, shrouding the entire cemetery. Oh no, a supernatural revival. It's him again. Figures flew out from the foot of the mountain, rushing towards the peak. Among them a roar resounded through the night sky. He Shengxiong. Life, death, and reincarnation are destined to the mortal world and refuse to dissipate. The response was a massive black shadow pouring down. A moment later the cemetery returned to dead silence. A hideous black shadow flew out from the mountain peak, transforming into an emaciated old man, floating off into the distance, and everywhere in the cemetery, figures lay scattered all over the ground. Damn it. Call for backup immediately. This spirit already meets the criteria for a fierce ghost. We need a Class B expert to handle this. Fuck, isn't this bizarre? Every time that kid comes here, He Shengxiong wakes up. Is it just a coincidence? Or is that kid jinxing us? Has definitely jinxing us. Outside the cemetery the old man slowly raised his head, revealing a livid and ferocious face. 57 Gihua Street. Yin Yang Paper Craft Shop. Little bastard, I'm coming for you. The night was deep and the wind was cold. I leaned on the bench and shivered, a cigarette dangling from my mouth, while playing a game. Support, stay close to me. Only 09, this isn't my real skill level. I can definitely farm my way back. Ah, mother. The screen went black. I was kicked out by the system. I angrily put down my phone. The female ghost in red sized me up, a little confused. This kid went from just having a pure young body to stepping into the realm of cultivators in just 2 nights. His adaptability is beyond normal. Now that he guessed He Shengxiong might look for him, he immediately distanced himself and didn't even go back to the shop, cowardly as he is. Staying away from both ends perfectly avoids the danger, but he doesn't seem like the type to just run away. Little brother, are you planning to stay here all night, and not go back? I fell silent for a moment, then asked in return, hey, can I ask you a question? He Shengxiong shouldn't be able to find me directly, right? No, she answered readily, making me seem a bit hesitant. Forgive me for asking again. Are you sure you're not lying to me? Of course I'm not lying to you. She smiled charmingly and lifted my chin. I blushed. We can be considered friends now, right? We can. She smiled, her eyes curving into crescents. Since we're friends, then can you stop absorbing my energy? Her slender fingers pressed against my lips. Little fool, that's a very naive thought. She blinked, her fragrant tongue gently curled. Full of provocation. You're mine for sure. My face darkened, and I quickly backed away to create some distance. This woman does not seem like a good person. In the blink of an eye, midnight had passed. I kept an eye on my phone. No call came from He Yaowen's side, which meant He Shengxiong wasn't there. Then I can't go back to the paper craft shop. The red-clothed female ghost quietly stayed by my side. Her gaze was like looking at a pet, which made me very uncomfortable. But as long as she doesn't do anything crazy, even if she treats me like dirt, I won't bother arguing. We waited until 2 a.m. I suddenly got up and went into an internet cafe. This kid really isn't in a hurry. The female ghost muttered as she followed me. Why don't you just let me suck your energy 10 times? And I'll devour him in one bite. I ignored her, and fell asleep leaning on the sofa. Until 4 a.m. My alarm rang. I rubbed my eyes and rushed out of the internet cafe. Seeing me in such a hurry, the female ghost seemed to understand my plan. You want to confront him just before dawn. If things go wrong with He Shengxiong, you just need to stall until the rooster crows to be safe. You're quite bold. Aren't you afraid of dying just like this? Her eyes filled with even more interest. As she immediately followed me, I hailed a taxi and went straight to the old town. The old alley was completely quiet, and the dense ghost shadows from before were gone. In the night wind there was a trace of yin energy I paid extra attention to. It was identical to the one on He Yaowen. Sure enough, that old bastard had been here. My heart felt heavy, but fortunately he was already gone. Only when I walked back to the paper craft shop did I truly sigh in relief. Standing outside the door, I carefully observed the surroundings. There were a few traces of yin energy on the threshold, but inside it was exactly the same as when I left. Did he notice I wasn't here? So he left. I furrowed my brows, but quickly dismissed this thought. A guy who was immensely evil in life and became an extremely fierce ghost after death. How could he leave so easily? Could it be he's not that fierce? I muttered to myself, completely unable to figure it out. I decided to go inside first, but as I entered the door, my gaze subconsciously swept into the pitch darkness of the alley. Before I walked in thoughtfully, the red-clothed female ghost behind me also floated in, and she likewise looked deep into the alley. Unlike my heavy-hearted demeanor, she tilted her head almost provocatively and muttered softly, have I been asleep for too long and fallen behind the times? Or has the world really changed? Even the night-roaming gods are helping to guard doors now. Boom. The night wind surged through the entire alley, and instantly a sinister gale arose. Amidst the thick mist, a figure emerged and surged toward the paper craft shop. At the door, the red-clothed female ghost smiled wickedly and entered the shop without looking back. As soon as she stepped inside, outside the paper craft shop, two gray waves of aura slammed fiercely into each other. Dust billowed. This infuriates me. I'm going to tear her apart alive. Don't be reckless with this woman. Wave fought her before. If we could tear her apart, we would have done it already. Not only is she pestering little Mo, but she also dares to mock us. Are we just going to let it go? Call for backup. Get the cook and blind Cane back here. Lame guy, calm down. We're waiting for that person. Until that person arrives, we can't leave this spot. Besides, this female ghost hasn't shown any malice, so there's no need to fight. Just consider it Lin's destined tribulation. Walking the path of the yin naturally entails enduring such things. After a brief silence, since it's a tribulation, then how do you explain that little ghost who showed up at the door just now? You literally blasted his ghost body to pieces. He's lucky he ran fast. If we can beat it. Of course it doesn't count as a tribulation. But we can't beat this female ghost, can we? Ziwu, to put it bluntly, you're just a coward. Who are you calling a coward? I haven't beaten you enough. In an instant, dust rolled through the alley again. Ghost energy clashed, and two massive figures could faintly be seen, brawling inside. Meanwhile, I was completely oblivious inside, eagerly flipping through the ancient book. At this moment, the red-clothed female ghost leaned over, her eyes also falling on the book in my hand. I didn't mind, and continued searching for information. Suddenly I pressed the page flat, my attention instantly focused. Three-Sha fierce ghost, born with great evil, extremely fierce after death, entangled by karmic debt, which transforms into a fierce and malicious power. Such ghosts hold no resentment in their hearts. They are pure evil and brutality. The Three-Sha embody greed, gluttony, and hatred. I took a deep breath. My sixth sense told me that He Shengxiong without a doubt was exactly this type. Holding no grudge, just born as a great evil, I provoked him by visiting the wrong grave. This matter won't end until one of us is dead. My eyes fell on a line of small text below. If a grudge is formed with a Three-Sha fierce ghost, the only solution is deliverance. Deliverance. I pinched the bridge of my nose and continued reading. It wasn't until the rooster crowed that I snapped back to reality and looked to the side. The red-clothed female ghost licked her lips, and I pulled her into my arms. Huh? She froze for a moment, one soul-stirring kiss. I suppressed the dizziness in my head, and silently recited the Ziwu Duanyang technique a few times, realizing she still hadn't disappeared. Just one time right, I asked in confusion. Only then did she snap out of it, smiling as she licked her red lips. Little brother, this is your first time being so proactive. It made my heart flutter so much that I almost couldn't react. I completely ignored her delicate shy expression. She's a ghost. What kind of expression couldn't she fake? Since you're being so proactive, I'll share some news with you. I immediately looked at her. This woman had vast knowledge. She could definitely provide some help. Come here. She leaned in close to me. I bent down and attentively perked up my ears. Actually, when I'm absorbing your essence, you don't need to use your tongue. I jerked my head up, and in my panic blurted out a classic curse. Fuck, you're so vulgar. She covered her mouth and chuckled, her eyes seemingly saying you're flustered, but right after she raised an eyebrow at me, but your technique is pretty good. I quite like it. After saying that, she disappeared, leaving behind a silvery bell-like laugh. With a face full of embarrassment, I vigorously slapped my blushing cheeks, dove headfirst onto the bed, and pulled the covers over my head. Do you think I wanted to use my tongue? It was a subconscious reaction I couldn't control. How embarrassing, truly embarrassing. To be mocked by a female ghost. I groggily fell asleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was jolted awake by a ringing phone. I rubbed my eyes, and answered the phone. Lin Mo, He Shengxiong. That serious tone and slightly trembling voice instantly woke me up. Did something happen? My parents are fine. And I'm okay too. But I just received some news, and I don't know if it's related to him. What news? I pulled out a Chunghwa cigarette, and took a deep drag. Something happened at Shengxiong Cemetery. I reckon it was around 3 or 4 in the morning. At least 20 people died, he said with a trembling voice. My eyes widened instantly. The informant I left outside the cemetery reported it. Shortly after the incident, several cars arrived at the cemetery. They carried out over 20 corpses. I have photos here. Those people didn't seem simple either, but they all died. Now Shengxiong Cemetery is completely locked down. Even our family's influence can't penetrate it. My phone vibrated continuously. It was the photos he sent. I tapped them open, and my pupils shrank violently. The corpses were shriveled and horrifying, as if sucked dry of flesh and blood, leaving only a layer of skin wrapped around bones. Soul envelopment. My heart jolted. This method of death is exactly the same as the fierce ghosts' killings recorded in ancient books, having their souls devoured alive, filled with yin energy, bitten by 10,000 ants, resulting in a terrifying death. Fierce ghosts have countless ways to kill, but soul envelopment is the most brutal. It easily attracts the night-roaming gods. If it was just to devour souls, it seems the loss outweighs the gain. Unless he had no choice but to do so. I muttered aloud, suddenly realizing something, and stood up abruptly. For instance, if he was heavily injured, he had to use soul envelopment to recover. Morning inside a high-end hotel. Mr. Lin. He Shengxiong walked over quickly. Sitting on the sofa, I turned my head with a solemn expression. Uncle Zhang walked over first. A suitcase was placed in front of me. Inside were all unopened Chunghwa cigarettes. Are you trying to test me with these? Before I could finish, Uncle Zhang lifted the cigarettes, revealing stacks of cash underneath, red upon red, like a beam of light, making my breathing heavy. Mr. Lin, I apologize. My attitude wasn't very good before. These vulgar items are just a small token of my respect. Please accept them. Uncle Zhang bowed slightly. I glanced at him. Feeling somewhat surprised, I subconsciously muttered, it's not that vulgar. Don't make it hard on me, I'm a vulgar person too. While speaking, my hands seemed out of control as I pulled the suitcase to my feet, even secretly gauging its depth. Tiski kumpi tar backwards of strizano, damn with trotter's rice. 3 times a day I could eat it till I die. I rushed here in a hurry this morning, and I haven't even eaten yet. Seeing me accept the suitcase, Uncle Zhang breathed a sigh of relief. The incident at Shengxiong Cemetery last night made even a former soldier king like him have his hair stand on end. Some things he had no choice but to believe. He took a step back and stood behind He Shengxiong, Lin Mo. He Shengxiong, holding back a lot of words, hurriedly sat beside me. Although I took the money, my face remained solemn. Getting straight to the point, I said, tell me about your grandfather. My grandfather, She had just started speaking, but seemed to find it difficult again. I lit a cigarette and frowned at her. I'm just asking a question, why look so hesitant? After adjusting herself, she said deeply, has a natural-born evil seed. I coughed violently. No wonder she hesitated, those words were truly blunt. Go on. My grandfather was born in the last century. Even when he was young, the He family was wealthy, but his personality was different from ordinary people since childhood. You can think of it as him having supermale syndrome. Supermale syndrome. Yes, in his teens he tortured several maids to death. Anyone who displeased him. They all met a gruesome end. Even a dog would be chopped into pieces by him. A phrase came to my mind. I don't have many memories of him. I only remember visiting him when I was little. I accidentally walked into his room and saw with my own eyes several scantily clad girls chained to the foot of his bed, covered in bruises and cuts. His body trembled a little. It seemed this scene was his childhood nightmare. I took a deep drag of my cigarette and threw the butt away. Supermale syndrome. A natural-born psychopath. The real life doesn't eat beef psycho. He perfectly fits the definition of a three-sha fierce ghost. Later my dad couldn't take it anymore. After I was born he took us and left. 12 years ago when he passed away, we went back to handle his funeral affairs and buried him in the Shangyuan cemetery. She wiped away her tears. Actually, I don't blame you. I shouldn't have cared about our blood relation from the beginning and burned paper offerings for him. As just a demon, I remained silent. Things have come to this. There's no point in talking about it. Come with me. I got up and headed out of the hotel. Of course I didn't forget the suitcase. He Yawen wiped her eyes and hurried to catch up. Soon the group returned to the paper craft shop. You guys wait inside first. After saying that I went to the backyard, a moment later, I came out holding a bowl of scarlet liquid and waved at the bodyguards. What is this? Uncle Zhang looked at me in confusion. Red clay, black sand, corner ash and frost from under roof tiles. I said casually, normally, it's a method for warding off ghosts recorded in ancient books. These are all objects of extreme yin. Mixed together, extreme yin generates yang. Even if used by someone with no cultivation, it can keep ghosts at bay. Which parts of your bodies do you usually leave unwashed? I asked, stirring the liquid with my finger. Mr. Lin, what are you going to do? We will fully cooperate, Uncle Zhang said without hesitation. Seeing his expectant look, it inexplicably gave me an aura of mystery, to the point that in his eyes I was already like a master from the movies. I didn't know what he was thinking, and just smiled. Then here I come. I closed my eyes and recalled for a moment, slowly raising my finger covered in the red paste. Suddenly I gasped and my expression changed. I turned and ran. Wait for me a sec. Uncle Zhang and the others were all stunned. When I came back out, I was holding an ancient book, flipping through it frantically. Damn it, how do you draw that talisman? Which page was it on again? Uncle Zhang and the others' eyes twitched. Found it. Give me a second to study it. Once I memorize it, I'll draw it for you. I grinned, seeing He Yawen rolling her eyes in annoyance. My face flushed. These past 2 days I've been reading this ancient book whenever I have time, putting in some serious hard work. Kui Sing kicking the dipper, I muttered, making some hand gestures. It's not complicated, only 4 strokes. Alright, everyone gather around. Holding the book under my arm, I beckoned to Uncle Zhang and the others. Come on, what are you waiting for? Lin Mo, are you sure about this talisman drawing? He Yawen asked hesitantly. Don't doubt my professionalism. This is a time-honored brand, and I'm a second-generation successor. Reading the book is just a habit. I'm an intellectual after all. I kept a straight face and secretly hid the ancient book under my arm. Soon, Uncle Zhang and the others lined up in front of me, channeling the power of pure yang. I dipped 2 fingers into the talisman water, and first on Uncle Zhang's glabella, I made 2 quick strokes. A blood-red mark shaped like a spoon was left behind. Uncle Zhang only felt a coolness between his brows, followed immediately by a rush of warmth. After drawing it for all dozen or so bodyguards, I looked up and glanced around. These 1.8-meter tall burly men all had a faintly glowing talisman mark between their brows. It didn't look embarrassing at all. I couldn't help but chuckle. After all, it was my first time doing this, but the result was quite satisfactory. Seeing He Yawen staring at me, I put on a serious face, feigning maturity. Ahem. Not bad, the talismans are drawn perfectly. After all, I've been drawing them since childhood, so it's impossible to mess up, I told Uncle Zhang and the others. This talisman is called Kui Sing kicking the dipper. It's highly effective against ghosts. You guys have strong vitality and blood flow, as long as you're not afraid in your hearts. With over a dozen of you standing there, no ghost will be able to get near you. But remember, the talismans cannot be erased. That means you cannot wash your faces, and it's best not to even sweat. Uncle Zhang immediately nodded. I then looked at He Yawen. She quickly stepped up to me, lifted her bangs, and exposed her forehead. You don't need a talisman. She was taken aback for a moment, blushing in embarrassment. After you go back, these people should be enough to protect you. If you're really scared, just hold onto the willow branch at all times, I instructed. As for your father, let's wait and see. Perhaps once we deal with him, your father will wake up on his own. Call me if there are any issues. Okay. As they were leaving, she turned back and asked, will he definitely come? Her eyes were full of helplessness and fear. I didn't want to lie to her, so I gently nodded. As the luxury car drove away, a few bodyguards in the car whispered softly, I can't believe ghosts actually exist in this world. What Kui Xing kicking the dipper? Does it really work? Who knows? It's still unclear if he has real skills, but he's definitely poor. In his kitchen, besides a bag of rice and 3 bowls, the only seasoning was half a bag of salt. He couldn't even plate 3 dishes. That's genuine poverty. In the courtyard I watched them leave, and the heaviness on my face instantly vanished. He Shengxiong might be terrifying, but when I bent down to pick up that box, a wide smile blossomed on my face. 1 stack, 2 stacks, 400 grand. Damn it, it really is 400 grand. I knew reporting to the police and targeting the filthy rich he group was the right call. Delighted, I sat down on the ground hugging the money. Don't blame me for being unpromising. Poverty had simply tortured me far too much. Hello? I took out my phone. Number 57 Gehua Street Paper Craft Shop. 1 bowl of pork trotter rice. I want the fatty trotters. 3 eggs and some soup. Also add a large chicken leg and some crispy meat chopped up. Add another box of rice. Make that a pork trotter rice too. Hanging up the phone, I went to the backyard to hide the money. Not long after, a delivery boy arrived at the door. When I triumphantly carried the pork trotter rice back to my room, that employee turned around and picked up his phone. I got a good look at him. He's just an idiot, ordering a pork trotter rice, yet acting like he was ordering Boston lobster and king crab. Back in my room I happily finished my meal, and caught up on some sleep. By the time I woke up it was already afternoon. I sat in my chair and continued flipping through the ancient book, until nightfall approached. The red-clothed female ghost arrived as expected, leaning directly on my shoulder. I instinctively shivered, leaned sideways to avoid her, and got up to hang the 70% off sign at the door. "Still dare to stay open today?" she asked pointedly. I turned my head to look at her. Her expectant gaze clearly showed she wanted me to trade my life essence for her help. I didn't respond. Returning to the counter to wait, I ended up waiting until midnight. My expression gradually grew solemn. The night was way too quiet. Not only did He Shengxiong not show up, but not a single wandering ghost came either. When He Shengxiong came last night, what exactly happened? I pinched the bridge of my nose, and instinctively looked at the red-clothed female ghost. Her comment, "Still dare to stay open," made it clear she knew the inside story. However, she just raised her eyebrows at me all night, with 2 words written all over her face. "Beg me." I grumpily turned my head away, hesitating again and again, before getting up, grabbing 2 bags of yin-yang paper ingots, and walking toward the old alley. It was time to pay a visit to those guys. The night breeze was gentle. I stood still at the entrance of the alley, silently circulating my cultivation power within me. As I stared into the misty alley, it felt like some entities were gradually revealing themselves. As for the night-roaming gods, according to my grandfather's ancient book, there were 4 of them in total, including Big Mouth, Blind, Crutch, and Cripple. They were the ones who truly possessed the power to send ghosts into reincarnation. Crossing over required their assistance. According to my grandfather's records, he had a good relationship with these 4, and they even helped him guard Jiayuan's shop for a year. I divided the paper ingots into 4 piles, and placed them on both sides of the alley. As I approached the mist, I vaguely felt like I saw a pair of giant eyes. Fortunately, neither of the 2 mists changed. They were just scrutinizing me. I held my breath, put down the paper ingots, and retreated to the middle of the alley. Not bad. I didn't sense any malice. I didn't dare to shamelessly try to curry favor with them, afraid that I might ruin the relationship with one careless move. I then took out 12 joss sticks and 4 incense burners, placing 2 on each side. This was the method to welcome the roaming gods, or in plain terms, paying my respects to establish ties, and gain their approval. Originally I wasn't in a hurry, but now that the trouble with He Shengxiong had arrived, relying solely on the suppression power of Jiayuan's shop, I wasn't sure if I could handle it. Welcoming the roaming gods was imminent. I closed my eyes and held the joss sticks, as I channeled my crimson yang energy. The 12 joss sticks suddenly ignited out of thin air, and curling smoke began to rise. Outside the paper craft shop, the female ghost had brought a chair from who knows where, and was sitting lazily on it, worshipping the 4 directions. "You've learned the posture to welcome the roaming gods quite well. It's just that the movements are truly crude." Seeing me jump in fright from the suddenly igniting joss sticks, and hurriedly tighten my expression, she couldn't help but let out a silvery laugh. "Shut up," I glared at her grumpily, turned around, and sang the chant for inviting the roaming gods in a weird, sorrowful tune. "Little brother, that's not how you sing the tune. Do you want me to help you?" She leaned forward and shouted. My chant was interrupted, and I was so angry that I raised my fist. She just shook her head playfully, and even beckoned to me with her finger. "I'll give you an extra round today, okay? Stop messing around," I said helplessly. Hearing this, she immediately stopped, turned her head back and fell silent. She just licked her red lips. It seems she's ready for another round. In the alley, after finishing the elegy, I opened my eyes and divided the incense into 4 groups, paying homage to the living beings in all directions. I, Lin Mo, present this decree to the 9 realms below, to welcome and send off all wandering souls, expel evil and receive spirits, and guide them to their passage. On this auspicious day, the Yin officials preside over the pavilion. I enunciated every single word, staring intently at the incense in my hand and the censer on the ground. "Rise, wandering gods," I shouted loudly. My face flushed red from the exertion, and my voice almost cracked. Feeth, the female ghost, chuckled again. I glared at her fiercely. I planted the incense respectively into the 4 censers. "Please don't tip over. Please don't break. Grandpa, it's time to test your connections," I muttered in my heart. Normally, if the incense burns quickly and holds its shape, it means the roaming gods have taken their positions. The worst case scenario is the censer tipping and the incense breaking, which clearly shows they look down on you. If that happens, little ghosts from all directions will definitely come knocking. Just as I was waiting quietly, I suddenly jerked my head up. I felt 2 surges of yin energy sweep over like a flash flood. The sensors on the ground tilted slightly, as if grabbed by invisible hands. Immediately after, the green smoke veered off and vanished abruptly. The entire stick of incense burned out rapidly right before my eyes. This made my heartstring tense up until I saw the incense completely burned out. The roaming gods had taken their positions. A relieved smile appeared on my face. I could tangibly feel 2 shadows standing beside me, one on the left, one on the right. Their terrifying yin energy was as heavy as a tidal wave. Suddenly I felt a tap on my shoulder. Faint voices echoed in my ears. One was sharp, the other deep. "Work hard, kid. I'll cover you from now on." I suppressed my excitement. Now I could clearly sense those 2 clusters of mist. This meant the roaming gods were in position. It showed that the pawn shop was recognized. and we had backing in the underworld. How should I address you two divine officials? I asked softly. Only 2 Roman gods had arrived, but that was enough. However, neither of the mists responded. Divine officials. I called out again. Still no response. They even turned around, and gradually drifted away. I was simply looked down on me. Divine officials. May I ask if a fierce ghost came knocking last night? Was it you two who helped out? I changed the subject. This time there was a response. The mist on the left drifted and formed 2 lines of text. Yes. His ghost body has been destroyed. Nothing to worry about. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. My guess was right. He Shengxiong suffered a great loss at the hands of the night roaming gods. Then I wanted to ask more, but the 2 mists had already hidden in the shadows, deliberately exuding an air of indifference. I pursed my lips, not understanding, and didn't dare to shamelessly press them further. Packing up the sensors, I nervously returned to the courtyard a moment later. Ziwu, is it bad that we're ignoring him? Look at how wronged the kid feels. Do you have the nerve to talk to him? If you've got the guts, deal with that female ghost first. Let's lay low for now. This female ghost is absurdly powerful. She's got some weird aura about her. It'll make time to visit Samsara to look into her. Do you suspect shiz? Shut up, Ziwu, I won't argue with you. Once Mangwai and the chef get back, I don't believe the 4 of us can't take down one woman. Then we can properly meet with little Lin Mo. We are his elders after all. Stop overthinking it. There's not much time left before he comes over. Just focus on your own business. Inside Jiayuan building, I did feel a bit wronged. This dismissive attitude is a bit hard to bear. Old man, your connections aren't solid enough. I muttered a complaint. When I came in, I saw the female ghost fiddling with the items on the table. She was even reading an ancient book with great relish. Hey! I hurriedly snatched it back. Her pretty face sank. These few second-rate items. And you actually treat them like treasures. Call me grandma. And it'll teach you some real skills. I threw the ancient book into the box. I turned to look at her. A red high-slit Cheongsam. Curvy figure and a willow waist, with an exquisite face and perfect body. I quickly averted my gaze. I can't look, it's too easy to make mistakes. She saw the change in my expression, and froze for a moment, then immediately revealed a charming smile. Little brother, you are so bad. Are you thinking about me in your heart? She leaned in close to me, and habitually reached out to stroke my cheek. How about we discuss this again? It'll help you take care of that He Shengxiong. I immediately became alert. Those 2 night roaming gods outside. Don't think they are some big shots. Frankly speaking, they are just a bunch of old ghosts. And the most spineless ones at that. Her fingertips traced across my chest, as she said faintly, if you don't believe me, try calling them to deal with me. I guarantee, they wouldn't even dare to make a peep. As for me, she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, with a charming smile. I can help you with anything. A mere He Shengxiong. I could drag him in front of you right now. Just say the word. The vigilance on my face grew stronger, and I got up to hide far away. Temptation. This is naked temptation. Even though she talked big, I really didn't dare to doubt her, but asking her to make a move would cost the vital energy it worked so hard to save. Youngsters don't know the value of vital energy, only to weep empty tears in old age. In the blink of an eye it was dawn. I breathed in deeply. This time I specially made sure not to stick out my tongue. My pure yang energy immediately dropped by a chunk. I looked up and took a deep breath. Just as I was about to speak, one more time. You promised. Then before I could react, she leaned right in. My Adam's apple bobbed, and my pupils widened. This female ghost doesn't play by the rules. What a joke. I stuck out my tongue. Without a word, she sucked away another chunk of my pure yang energy. My vision went dark for a moment. So satisfying. See you tomorrow. She let out a charming laugh, her tone cheerful and languid. I silently recited the Ziwu Duanyang chapter over and over, trying hard to recover. After regaining my strength, I sensed the pure yang energy in my body. The yang energy was recovering somewhat slowly. Thank goodness it wasn't a severe drain. This was all thanks to the Tianyuan jade pendant. Otherwise I definitely wouldn't be able to make ends meet. I wouldn't last even 100 days. I need to hurry up and do business. The more ghost energy I absorbed, the better. My gaze was firm, as I felt the pure yang energy within my body, feeling a bit restless inside. The Ziwu Duanyang chapter's scorching sun spell uses yang energy to strike the body's acupoints, to condense pure yang breath. In theory, I could try to unblock some acupoints first. Hesitating for a moment, I gritted my teeth and slapped my thigh. Let's do it. I closed the door. Sitting back in the armchair, I closed my eyes and began to cultivate the scorching sun mantra. Instantly the crimson yang energy boiled within my body, transforming into a surging torrent. A burst of golden light erupted from me, tracing out an acupoint map of the human body. A speck of light lingered at every acupoint. The root of the 100 acupoints, the Qi Si. Feeling a sudden realization, I guided the crimson yang energy to rush toward my navel. This shouldn't be a mistake, right? Panting, I hesitated for a moment. In my perception, the Qi Si acupoint felt like a sealed sanctuary, waiting to be forced open and filled. Even if I wasn't doing it wrong, ramming it in like this would probably hurt a bit. I grimaced, gritted my teeth, and regardless of the crimson yang energy, forcefully shoved it straight in. In an instant, I let out a howl. My vision went dark. As I passed out, I cursed that the first time hurt like a bitch. I didn't know how much time had passed when my phone suddenly started vibrating. My consciousness gradually returned. I glanced at the phone next to me. It was He Yaowen again. This woman again. I felt like trouble was knocking again. Struggling to sit up, just as I reached for my phone, I suddenly jumped up in shock. My clothes were completely soaked and clinging to my body, and my exposed skin was covered in a layer of dead skin, mixed with dark mud like impurities. Damn it. I closed my eyes for a moment before I remembered what had happened. Earth-shattering changes had occurred within my body. The crimson yang energy had all gathered in my danshan, forming a swirling sea of qi. I checked my condition once more, and found that my crimson yang energy had nearly doubled, and its intensity had notably increased. My whole body felt like it had been completely reconstructed. Cultivation is great. I need to keep cultivating and learning. The more I thought about it, the happier I got, until the phone stopped ringing, and then started again. I answered the ringing phone, and He Yaolin's anxious voice came through. Hearing my response, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. You scared me to death. You kept not answering your phone, I thought. I'm fine. How are things on your end? I'm fine too. Uncle Zhang and the others are guarding me 24/7. And the willow branch you mentioned, I've been holding on to it tightly. My mind subconsciously conjured up the image of the He family heiress under the protection of her bodyguards, tightly hugging a willow branch even in her sleep. Lin Mo, are you there? I'm here. I pulled my thoughts and back. Smiled. He Yaolin's breathing was a bit heavy. After a pause she asked, did he go looking for you? I heard the unease in her voice, and frowned. No. Did something else happen? Yes, it seems to be at Shengxiong Cemetery again. She lowered her voice. I'm not sure about the details. The news has been completely locked down, as if a giant hand just pressed it all down. Her tone carried complaints and frustration. After all, in Yanbei, this was the first time the He group experienced such a sense of powerlessness from being kept in the dark. But she quickly regained her confidence. Although that hand is mysterious enough, this is Yanbei. As long as they are human, they will leave traces. The He family's informants are in every hotel and hospital. I interrupted her. Just tell me what happened directly. It seems people died again. Probably over a dozen. The crematorium in the eastern suburbs was commandeered last night. It seems the bodies were cremated overnight. She paused, and tentatively asked Lin Mo, do you know anything about those people's backgrounds? I naturally caught her drift. I have no idea either, but that Shengxiong Cemetery area is extremely sinister. You shouldn't get involved with it. The main priority now is He Shengxiong, I reminded him. And after asking about his father's condition, I hung up the phone. 2 groups of people had died at Shengxiong Cemetery in succession. This proved that those people hadn't retreated yet. Were they refusing to believe in the supernatural? Or was their target Shengxiong Cemetery? Or more precisely He Shengxiong? The more I thought about it, the more confused I became. After dinner I took out the ancient book, and continued reading. In the blink of an eye night fell. I hung the 70% off sign at the door, and bowed slightly to the left and right. After purifying my essence and marrow, my perception had grown stronger. I could clearly sense the presence of the 2 night-roaming gods. Returning inside, the red-clothed female ghost arrived as expected. She appeared beside me with a whoosh, and excessively leaned right into my neck. So impressive. You already had abundant yang energy when you entered the Tao. Now that you've broken through the Qi Sea and become a little Taoist, you're even more delicious. Hearing the first sentence, the corners of my mouth curled up subconsciously, but the second half immediately darkened my face. Is delicious really a word used to describe a handsome man? She sniffed me wantonly for a while. Seeing that I looked a bit more smug than yesterday, she rolled her eyes, wrapped her arms around my neck, and said coquettishly, little brother, your cultivation has skyrocketed. You seem to be in a good mood. Do you believe I can make you miserable with just 2 sentences? I glared at her in annoyance. I had endured enough of her wrapping around my neck, sniffing and touching me as soon as she arrived. What do you want to say? I asked disdainfully. She gave a sweet smile, and leaned close to my ear. Those little guys at Shengxiong Cemetery are no match for He Shengxiong at all. They're just lining up to throw their lives away. My eyes narrowed. Those people really were fellow cultivators. That's the first sentence. What about the second? They thought He Shengxiong was at the end of his rope. Little did they know he was just faking weakness. He was just waiting for them to take the bait. Once tonight passes, not only will He Shengxiong recover his ghost body, his strength might even skyrocket. My eyelids twitched. After all, that was nearly 50 living souls, and all of them possessed cultivation bases. A great tonic. She pressed down on me hard and said meaningfully, nearly 50 living souls. I gasped, cold sweat breaking out on my back. What is the background of those people at Shengxiong Cemetery? I suppressed my distracting thoughts and asked. She gave me a bargaining look. Obviously asking voluntarily would cost me my vital essence. I shook off her hands, got up and walked to the door. A 3-shot fierce ghost had caused such a massive disaster. After all, it was 50 human lives. I sighed and sat down, weighed down by my thoughts. He Shengxiong's targets included me. My current situation was also far from good. The female ghost beside me curled her lips. She hadn't expected me to actually suppress my curiosity. I thought I could exchange for yang energy one more time. She stared at me resentfully, licking her red lips from time to time. Before long, a thump of footsteps could be heard. I looked up, a practiced smile appearing on my face. The newcomer was a water ghost, dripping wet all over. As soon as he entered, he looked around sneakily. What would you like, customer? I smiled. He dashed right in front of me, raised his hand and tore off one of his own arms. 5 soul guiding incense sticks. Make it quick. Seeing his impatient look, as soon as I took out the incense, He snatched it over and sniffed it. A hint of satisfaction appeared on his face. And then he hunched over and sprinted away. What's going on? I scratched my head in confusion. Just then I saw the female ghost cough deliberately, looking eager to try something. I turned my head away pretending not to see. His face instantly falls, a flash of anger crossing his eyes. This little guy is getting more and more presumptuous. Before long, two ghosts arrive together. Boss, give me 500 taels of gold ingots. Hurry up, I want a woman. One with long legs. The one asking for a woman seems to be a lustful ghost. Blood drips from his lecherous eyes, wanting a woman. This is a big climb. My eyes light up, and I turn to head to the backyard. When I return, I'm carrying a bag of gold ingots and a paper woman. When the lustful ghost sees the paper woman, a mist of blood instantly sprays from his eyes. He opens his mouth wide, drooling incessantly. Perfect, perfect. This woman has such a pretty face. As he speaks, he grabs his own stomach and forcefully pulls something out. His entire ghostly form shrinks significantly, barely reaching the height of the counter on his tiptoes. He my woman. He grabs the paper woman and pulls her. A beautiful young woman vividly stands on the ground. I'm off, boss. He calls out, and climbing onto the young woman's back he leaves. Don't be in such a hurry. I gather the entrails left on the floor. Just as I'm about to ask him something, the paper woman has already mechanically carried him away. Why do all the ghosts tonight look so rushed? I stroke my chin. I just feel something isn't right. Looking at the rotten corpse ghost next to me, he seems hesitant. No expression can be seen on his rotting face, but his movements are clearly uneasy. Want. He replies uneasily. He grabs the gold ingots, tossing them to check the weight. I subconsciously smile. My grandfather made them himself. The weight is definitely sufficient. But the ghost is also smiling. Still smiling, he suddenly turns around and runs. Hey, what the feek, hey. Taken aback, I slam my hand on the counter. Damn it, trying to eat and run in my shop. Boom. An invisible wave of energy sweeps through the entire pawn shop. With the surge in my blood, my pure yang energy skyrockets. This seems to have also triggered a stronger power within the pawn shop. A vast rolling pressure descends, directly crushing the rotten corpse ghost's body until it bursts. Spare my life. Spare my life. He wails. I shouldn't have taken advantage of the ghosts rampaging and crossed the boundary into the west of the city. He'll never dare to do it again. I frown, withdrawing the power. What ghost rampaging? The rotten corpse ghost, struggling to restore his body, lies prostrate on the ground, looking at me in terror. I don't know. The night before last, a powerful ghost came to the west side of the city, startling thousands of ghosts. Otherwise I wouldn't have dared to cross the boundary. I was wrong. Seeing me deep in thought, he suddenly turns around and runs away. I ignore him. I finally understand why there has been no business these past 2 days. It's He Shengxiong again. I clench my fists. If these wandering ghosts encounter people with weak yang energy, it could turn into a full-scale ghost riot. Damn it. I punch the counter, a trace of ruthlessness appearing in my eyes. In the blink of an eye, dawn approaches. A little ghost leaves like a thief holding gold ingots. I stand up to take down the sign. Suddenly screech. The sound of tires skidding echoes in the distance. Immediately after, a car parks at the entrance of the alley. 2 men with deathly pale faces step out of the car. Upon seeing me, their eyes instantly light up. From the back seat steps out a middle-aged man wearing a white suit. The 3 walk straight up to me. Are you Lin Mo? The middle-aged man looks at me. His tone is stiff, anxious, yet carrying an air of arrogance. I subconsciously knit my brows, ignoring him. Instead, I look at the 2 men. I feel a sense of familiarity with these 2. Shengyuan Cemetery. I pointed at them uncertainly. The 2 nodded hastily. Kid, you went up the mountain before to burn paper for He Shengxiong. Right, kid? Tell us the truth. What exactly is He Shengxiong's background? We've already lost dozens of men to him. Fuck. As the man spoke, his chest heaved, and he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. My face darkened fiercely when I heard He Shengxiong's name. That name already made me gnash my teeth in anger. Don't move. And I grabbed his shirt. I saw a dark purple bruise over his heart, radiating a bone-piercing chill. Yin energy. I gave him a look. He nodded, his face one hand directly against his chest. Scalding pure yang energy surged in. Ah, fuck. He trembled in pain, but as the yin energy melted away, he spat out a few blood clots, and his breathing instantly smoothed out. Brother, your yang energy. You truly are a little son. Awesome. Just this move alone makes you as good as a high-level exorcist. I didn't understand this exorcist nonsense, so I turned to look at the other man. He waved his hand, and hastily said, Kid, I can still hold on. I'm fucking used to it. We came to find you this time. But before he could finish, a dark face interrupted him. It was that middle-aged man. He took a step forward with a gloomy expression. You guys are having a great chat, aren't you? Hearing his voice, the 2 men frowned, but seeming to fear something. They took a step back. One of them even winked at me. You looking for me? He looked arrogant. I glanced at him with a hint of gloominess between his brows. Are you Lin Mo? I was slightly taken aback. This guy was acting all tough for no reason. What a psycho. I smiled, took out my pack of chunghwa, and tossed a cigarette to each of the 2 men. The middle-aged man's eyebrow twitched slightly. My action was a clear provocation. Just as he was about to blow his top. Damn, Chunghwa is awesome. Smoking this stops my cough. The middle-aged man snapped his head around, glaring fiercely at the man who spoke. That man shrank his neck and crouched on the ground pretending not to notice. Speak up. What do you want from me? I said with a cigarette dangling from my mouth, with resentment in his eyes. He took a deep look at me. Were you the one messing around with He Shengxiong at Shengyuan Cemetery? My heart skipped a beat. It seemed the cause really was burning the wrong paper. Before I could answer, he pointed at me and raised his voice, awakening a C-class anomaly, causing the deaths of dozens of people. Do you even know how much trouble you've caused? I originally wanted to ask for more details, but hearing him blow things out of proportion. Wow, what kind of trouble? Are you going to execute me or something? He choked on his words, seeing my indifferent expression. The contempt in my eyes pierced his heart like a needle. Do you even know who I am? How dare you speak to me like that? If I hadn't heard you had some skills, you wouldn't even be qualified to meet me. He scolded. My response was to impatiently pick my ear. I don't know who the hell you are. All I heard was that you came here to ask for my help. I raised an eyebrow. And this is your attitude. His eyes widened in anger, just as he was about to explode. Ring ring. Staring daggers at me, he picked up his phone and said coldly, speak. A terrified voice came from the other end of the line. Captain Lu, let's retreat. We can't handle that big ghost. He suddenly yelled in anger. Bullshit. That ghost is heavily injured. It can't even condense its ghost energy. None of you better act like cowards. The Paranormal Management Bureau pays your salaries, not to just sit around and do nothing. He roared into his phone, but his eyes were fixed on me. You must kill that ghost. If you don't, and something goes wrong, it's your responsibility. None of you will get away with it. Everyone attack. A trembling response came from the other end of the phone. There's no one left. They're already dead. He abruptly hung up the phone. He pointed his finger at me. Kid, coming to you is giving you huge face. Don't think you're some big shot. The Paranormal Management Bureau is never short of capable people. He'll remember what happened tonight. My name is Lu Chuan. You'd better remember this name too. After speaking, he turned around and left. The threat in his words was undisguised. Captain Lu, we're here to ask for help. The two men hurriedly shouted. He roared without looking back, get lost. Go back, all of you. Can't you even handle a mere injured big ghost? Put your lives on the line and kill it. The two men looked grim. They remembered me again. Little brother, that ghost at Shengyuan Cemetery. Get your asses back here. The two looked at each other helplessly, dragging their weak bodies toward the car. Hey, I called out to stop them. Go back and hide far away tonight. He Shengxiong is not someone you can handle. Don't go throwing your lives away. Before they could answer, they heard the middle-aged man slapping the car door to urge them on, so they hurriedly walked back. The Paranormal Management Bureau. I pondered this name. Obviously this was the big hand He Yawen had mentioned, the mysterious power that even the local heavyweights the He group were powerless against, and its leader is such an idiot. I sneered. But my heart grew quietly heavy. In that phone call that was hung up earlier, I clearly heard, there's no one left. They're all dead. Just one He Shengxiong is causing so much trouble. I sighed in a low voice, a sharp glint flashing in my eyes. Seeing that dawn hadn't fully broken yet, I turned and walked to the corner of the alley, and bowed slightly. Lin Mo requests an audience with the divine official. Buzz, the hazy mist surged, and a tall figure stood in the mist as an ethereal voice emerged. May I ask, divine official, where are the wandering ghosts that used to be in the west of the city? Dazui has already gone to handle this matter. You don't need to worry. Tomorrow night the ghosts will return to the west of the city. But try not to cause this kind of trouble in the future. Thank you, divine official. The mist slowly dissipated. Aloof as always, he didn't say a single extra word. I turned around and went back to the courtyard, letting out a long sigh of relief. Talking to the night roaming gods is stressful. At the same time I heard an underlying meaning. Try not to cause these things. If it happens too often, and makes them run around, not only will I offend people, I'm also afraid of leaving a bad impression. Doing business relies on having many customers, and I need to take good care of these customers along the way. You need sheep to shear their wool after all. I rubbed my temples. Feeling a bit mentally exhausted, I went to the backyard, took out the paper gold and silver ingots, and arranged them on both sides of the alley. Before returning to the room to lie down, the female ghost appeared beside my pillow, her cold forehead resting on my chest. He Shengxiong is making a really big mess now. He didn't spare a single one of those dozens of people. He devoured them completely, and hell be coming for you soon. She said, her face full of worry. Her voice was pitiful and touching. Cousin, you have a kind heart. You knew He Shengxiong wouldn't target his own granddaughter. And yet, just to be safe, you deliberately drew talismans for that little girl's bodyguard, specifically to provoke He Shengxiong, making him completely obsessed with coming after you. But by doing so, all the danger falls solely on you. She looked at me with a delicate and tender expression, so considerate. It makes people feel so warm. I pretended not to care, but a smile still crept onto my face. I wasn't as noble as she made me out to be. It was just that I went to the wrong grave. So naturally I didn't want He Yawen's family to face any more danger. Besides, He Shengxiong was a natural-born bad seed, a man who seeks revenge for the slightest grievance. I didn't mind rubbing a little more salt in his wounds. Alright, I like hearing sweet words, but stop talking now, I'm tired. I lifted her chin. Her eyes lit up, then one more time. Don't even think about it. I lowered my head, and took the initiative, my tongue slipping out quickly. Meanwhile at Shengyuan Cemetery, eerie laughter echoed around. How dare you, a mere evil spirit not hiding. But daring to slaughter like this. Do you really think the Paranormal Management Bureau has no one left? A man said, trembling. Beside him lay several corpses that had been sucked dry to the bone. Not far away, another person's lower half had already collapsed, letting out heart-wrenching wails. Behind him, a skeletal ghost floated in mid-air, its hands gripping the back of his head. Paranormal Management Bureau. He Shengxiong spat out in a hoarse voice. I don't give a damn about your bullshit, Bureau. Blame yourselves for daring to make a move on me. Once I'm full from eating you, I'll go and eat that little bastard. He abruptly lowered his head and took a bite out of the man's head. Bizarre swallowing sounds echoed. The man's body collapsed visibly, while the spectral light on He Shengxiong grew brighter. After devouring the man into a mummy, he looked at the last standing person, a manic smile curving on his lips. Your turn. And not just you. After I kill that kid, I'll keep devouring, until I swallow all of Yanbei. Madman. You're a madman. Do you even know what you're saying? Swish. He Shengxiong appeared out of thin air in front of him. I've heard that title my whole life. Everyone who dared say that to me is dead. You are no exception. The man's pupils widened instantly. His scalp was fiercely yanked. His cheeks began to cave in. His eyeballs were sucked alive into his head. His whole body shriveled up. In less than a minute, He Shengxiong violently tossed the corpse away. While the flying corpse was still in midair, it was surrounded by countless dark shadows, fresh flesh and blood. It's mine. Get lost. Mine. Let me have a bite. Creepy shrieks kept echoing. Suddenly He Shengxiong turned his head sharply. His vicious glare instantly froze the countless shadows. They scattered from where they were, and landed respectfully on the ground. He chuckled, seemingly recalling his youth when he didn't eat beef. Eat. Seeing the ghost shadows rush up like mad, he smiled even more happily. As he turned around, his gaze landed on the location of the paper craft shop in the west of the city. That little bastard is actually protected by the night roaming gods. I was careless last time, and almost died there. I need to figure out a way. Suddenly, his mouth twisted into a ferocious ghost face, trembling madly. Just you wait, you little bastard. I will definitely skin you alive and rip out your tendons. He transformed into a dark shadow and vanished into the dawn. At the same time, inside the paper craft shop, I rested with my eyes closed, absorbing the ghost energy converted by the Tianyuan jade pendant, but an inexplicable sense of panic lingered in my heart. Damn it. I took a deep breath. Looking up, the morning glow was just rising outside the courtyard. A ringtone from my phone jolted me awake. It was He Yawen. I flexed my slightly stiff fingers and answered the phone. Lin Mo, things seemed to be getting out of control. Her voice trembled. I said, tell me in detail. I just got the news. The terrifying wails at the Shangyuan cemetery didn't stop all night last night. Now a police line has been set up a kilometer out. Multiple civilian vehicles were suddenly requisitioned. She suppressed her panic and asked Lin Mo, do you think he'll come looking for us next? Or go looking for you? I was the one who visited the wrong grave. He will definitely come for me first. I pondered for a moment. Don't be afraid. Do as I taught you, and stay by your parents' side. Those bodyguards absolutely must not leave. On the other end of the phone, she was silent for a moment, before choosing to trust me. Okay. Hanging up the phone. My brows furrowed. It was just one He Shengxiong. I was originally waiting for him to come to my door, but then this Paranormal Management Bureau out of nowhere had to interfere, and even gave him a huge gift package. 50 living souls. 50 human lives. How could anyone be this stupid? Even a beaten dog knows to hide. Yet they let him devour them cleanly. Who knows to what extent? This guy's terror has grown now. It even damn well gave me some sort of crisis intuition. I secretly shook my head. When it's time to cower, I cower. But when it's time to be brave, do you really think I don't have a temper? I turned around and left, heading straight for the side room in the backyard, passing through rows of hanging paper figures. At the very back of the room, I lifted a large red cloth, revealing a pitch-black wooden box. It was about half a person's height, covered with latches all around. When you lack the skill, you make up for it with tools. I reached out and touched the box. It felt cold to the touch. When I was a child, Grandpa used to carry this box on his back to perform rituals. Grabbing a latch, I pulled slightly with force. A long, narrow drawer was pulled out. Inside was a stack of yellow talismans. Over 100 Vajra talismans with dazzling patterns, or Taoist evil-breaking talismans. I pushed it back with a solemn expression, and opened another drawer. Inside was a 7 or 8 meter long red string, with a plug at each end. Next to it was a hollow round ball. I could understand this, but this set really made one's imagination run wild. Was it specifically for female ghosts? Tie them up and gag them. 50% energize Jude. I opened 2 more drawers. On the left was a coin sword, ancient coins and ink string, emitting a faint ink scent, yin 9 sun coins, and blood-killing string, good stuff. On the right was a square wooden stick. It looked entirely unremarkable, but it gave me an indescribable sense of comfort. I held the wooden stick in my hand, and narrowed my eyes. The moment I grasped it, the pure yang energy in my body uncontrollably flooded into the wood. The ordinary wood suddenly radiated a blazing light, century-old peach wood. My pupils trembled. The standard weapon for those walking the yin path is a peach wood sword. Such good material wasn't even crafted into a sword. Perhaps Grandpa kept it as a spare. But this stick felt just right in my hand, especially since the yang energy in this peach wood was formidably intense. It was simply tailor-made for me. Good stuff. I weighed the stick in my hand, smiled, and then opened the remaining drawers. Ink string red thread yellow talismans, and a full 18 sets of cinnabar. I checked them one by one. A picture was already forming in my mind. On a dark and windy night, with ghosts howling all around, a handsome young man arrives riding the wind. He raises his hand, presses the box, and all sorts of magical weapons shoot out. How badass. I grinned, and planned to put the peach wood back. The gear was already sorted out. He'll just wait right here. If he dares to come, and I can't handle him, there are still 2 night-roaming gods outside. Even if the night-roaming gods are unreliable, at worst I'll just risk my life. Suddenly ready for action, I looked up at the front yard. My eyebrows twitched weirdly. That inexplicable sense of unease reappeared. My gaze narrowed as I gripped the peach wood and walked to the front yard. It was nearly noon, with the sun shining down. I squinted against the sunlight, my eyes fixating on the doorway. A barefoot man stood there, having arrived unnoticed. One of his feet had already crossed the threshold, while the top of his other foot dragged over it. Standing completely still, I slowly frowned, my heartbeat suddenly accelerating. "Hey," I called out proactively. The man didn't respond, nor did he look up, but the top of his foot dragging on the threshold moved slowly and stiff-like, stepping inside little by little. The next second, a sudden draft swept violently into the shop with a whoosh. The wind chimes rang out in unison. I instinctively turned my head away. When I looked back, bam! The man's foot slammed hard onto the ground. His entire body trembled eerily under my gaze. He slowly raised his head. He looked to be in his 40s, with stiff facial features and sunken hollow eyes. His face was a ghastly dark blue, faintly exuding an aura of death.